How's it going, everyone? My name is Brett, and welcome back to Genshin Impact. And I have another special guest with me.
Hello there.
So yeah, this is my grandmother. You probably remember her from last year when I introduced her to the version 1, 2, and 3 Genshin characters.
It's been a while. We need to do another one.
So, but like the thing is, like, in retrospect, I think we should have done like 3 parts of that instead of one big part.
It was long.
Because we had to go through like what 60 characters last time.
It was a lot.
So we had to speed run through a lot of things. So I kind of like glossed over a lot of things and made some mistakes here and there. But this time we're just focusing on the version 4 characters, and thankfully I do have every version 4 character.
Cool.
Which, you know, it took a combination of dedication, luck, and a little bit of spending here and there.
How much spending?
Let's not talk about that.
Okay.
So yeah, so last time we had to go through the character archive because, well, again, I didn't have every character, but since I do have every character, we're on this screen, which is the party screen. So I have five groups, and there are a total of 17 characters in version 4.
Okay.
And most of these characters in version 4 are from a nation called Fontaine, which is the background you're seeing.
That's beautiful.
But there are some characters that are from other nations, like Liyue, Sumeru, and Inazuma. So yeah. But
Okay.
again, most of these characters are from Fontaine. But yeah, let's start with our first character, Lenny.
She's pretty.
And you said she.
Oh, that's not a she?
Like, literally the first person we see, you immediately thought they were a girl.
Are you sure she's not a girl?
It's a guy.
Okay. All right.
Like, I'm just amazed right now. I mean, first it was like Venti, Albedo. Who else did you thought that they were a girl?
I gotta tell you, she looks like she's wearing hose. She looks like she has
Okay.
a corset on.
Okay, to be fair, Lenny is quite wearing some questionable design.
And she's got pink bow ties. All right, it's a he, but he looks like a she to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway. So, how exactly do you want to do this?
Tell me about him so that I can get used to thinking of her as him.
I mean, like, I was thinking since we only have 17 characters to go through, we can be a little bit more in depth with them, with their profile.
Okay. So tell me about him.
You want an introduction?
Well, what does he do?
This is no mere illusion. 'Tis I, Lenny, the greatest magician in all Tevat. How are we feeling today? Excited? Surprised? Oh, you're curious how I appeared in front of you like this? Well, your eyes are like topaz, precious, pure, and lovely. I like them. I've decided I'm going to put on a show just for you. Watch carefully now. Blink and you might miss it.
Is he really a magician?
Yes, he is a magician.
Okay, cool. Does he pull something out of his hat?
Oh, yeah. Like,
Okay.
like cards, rabbits, birds,
Cool. Excellent.
sometimes fire.
That's rare.
I mean, he has fire. So, yeah, that comes pretty natural to him, even if he wasn't a magician.
Okay, can you pull up something with him pulling fire out of his hat?
Yeah, I think we have to wait.
Okay. I'm still waiting. I'm looking forward to the fire out of the hat thing.
Anyway, moving on.
You gonna rip me off with the fire out of the hat?
Okay.
You.
If you really want fire, then we'll have to go into gameplay. That was it. I mean, unless you want to do this.
So that's him pulling things out of thin air.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right.
Now disappear!
Okay, anyway, so back to the screen. It's just that I didn't want to go into gameplay
I hear you.
all too much.
That was 17 of them. That's gonna take a while.
And so, is there anything else you want to know about them? Like, you got options.
How does he relate to the other characters?
Oh, yeah. They actually do talk about other characters. Let's see here.
my sister and I have always been inseparable. There's no hardship we can't overcome as long as we're together, and similarly, we share all our joys with each other. There's nothing in the world I treasure more than my family, so I know what it must be like for you.
So
And
is
if
his
I find out anything at all that might help you, I'll be sure to let you know.
Is his sister part of the 17?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Like,
Okay.
like, do you just want to go through the characters' names first before we actually go through what other characters think about other characters?
This is your show. You show me.
Hold on. Technical difficulties.
Cool.
Okay.
We're untechnical now.
How about we learn more about him?
Okay.
It seems we're both keenly interested in each other. Well, know that the honor is mine. Relax. I couldn't ever tell lies to your mesmerizing eyes, not even if I tried.
I didn't learn anything. What is...
Of course, there's no way to ensure that you'll never slip up when performing magic tricks. The way I see it, the point is not to perform perfectly, but to stay calm at all times and adapt as needed. Even if some small flaws occur, you just need to make the audience believe that it's all part of the show, and you'll still deliver an entertaining and unforgettable performance.
I like him. He knows how to be confident.
As orphans without parents to shelter us, Lynette and I were forced to roam the streets since childhood, so we've been through a lot. But those experiences have also made us who we are today. We're doing all right these days. I have a hat full of hopes and dreams. And a family and audience hoping that I don't let them down.
Cool.
So even now you still don't completely trust me, huh? You're a vigilant one. Not that that's a bad thing. I'll never need to worry about you getting duped by someone else. But on the other hand, since you've taken it upon yourself to watch my every move, you'd better be careful when you blink. Who knows? I might just tell a huge, terrible lie while you're not paying attention. You'd be in a real pickle then, wouldn't you? Actually, the real me is nowhere near as outgoing or chatty as I appear. More often than not, I only work my verbal magic as a means of getting closer to people. Sometimes I think people would feel sorry for the real me. Do you? Or do you find my little games absurd?
He's cute.
So, because we didn't go through this page, I was mostly do all the talking. Like, do you want me to keep talking?
No, I want to see his sister.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's all for Lenny, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we spend a good time with Lenny. So yeah, now his sister Lynette.
And she's a she, for
Yes,
sure.
she.
Okay.
First impressions?
She looks like a cat.
Yes, she is a cat.
Is she also a magician?
Yeah, his assistant.
Okay.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. I am Linny's magic assistant, and if you have work-related inquiries, please ask Linny. If you have questions related to seeing a magic show, please ask the ticket office. You want to talk to me? Then get to the point.
I like her.
During our shows, I'm usually Linny's assistant. Because I never speak or change expressions, people often mistake me for a puppet.
Ouch.
This kind of misunderstanding can prevent unnecessary social interactions. So it's actually quite nice.
She likes
Staying
being by herself,
silent
huh?
is beneficial for maintaining focus and gathering intelligence. Once, a VIP audience member at our show took out a handkerchief that didn't belong to his wife. As for how such information is used, now, that depends on what father wants. I prefer to use my eyes to understand the situation and find an appropriate solution. as opposed to using martial prowess. But having brute force as an option greatly increases the potential cards at your disposal and enables you to protect those most important to you in a crisis.
So she can be soft and strong.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Linny is normally quite confident and does everything with incredible ease. Or at least, that's how he wants everyone else to see him. So, when he runs into difficulties, he always wants to solve everything perfectly on his own. If this happens, please be sure to take good care of him.
So does she normally take good care of him?
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
If you explain a magic trick, then the allure of the performance is lost. Personal relationships are the same. If you want to understand me, why not learn a bit at a time and gradually piece together a complete picture? Humans are complicated creatures. Even when they are not doing so intentionally, they will still unconsciously hide their true selves. Though I can always notice a few redundant details, I won't expose their facades when it isn't necessary. Magic shows were once our livelihood, but now they are more of a convenient identity to present to society. In the name of magic performances, we can easily gain more access throughout the city and be the eyes of our house.
So is she like a spy?
Before Linny and I came to our new home, we were constantly adrift on the streets. We experienced many hardships and dangerous situations. It was then that I developed the habit of paying attention to any sign of danger, and also gradually learned to understand what others were thinking. Fortunately, we now have a safe place to live. Building a relationship with someone is like gambling. No matter how much information you have, it's hard to predict how other people might change. I've always had the habit of keeping a safe distance from others. But in your case, I'm willing to shoulder the risk of losing a bet.
Oh. Does the game ever show where they live?
I think I may have forgotten the
Okay, that's
exact
okay.
location.
Okay. But they do show it every now and again, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are any of these
No.
interesting?
No.
Hobbies, food, birthdays.
Hobbies might be nice.
A person's mental state is like a bowstring. If it's constantly under high tension, it will be at risk of suddenly snapping. So, outside of work, I prefer to do things that relax my brain, like making tea, feeding cats, and just zoning out. The calmer one normally is, the easier it is to deal with crises when they do pop up.
Excellent. She knows how to do Zen.
So is that good?
That's good.
Okay. So next is from Nay.
And is she related to the
Boy. Like, this is gonna be a guessing game if this is a boy or girl, isn't it?
Apparently so. I thought it was a little girl. Okay, all right, the boy. I can do this. I can do this.
First impression?
He looks like a child. So is he supposed to be really young?
Yeah, they're all teenagers.
He looks like a very, very, very young teenager.
Yeah, he's just zoning out on his helmet. Make up for Nay.
Yeah?
Hello, my name's Fremine. I'm a diver. Oh, no need to shake hands. I mean, no need to be so formal. If you need help surveying underwater ruins or salvaging materials, I can be of some use to you. But for anything else, you might find me a disappointment.
Oof.
Oh, that's sad. Is diving his life?
Hmm?
Is diving his whole life?
Yeah, he's a diver.
Okay. Well, what does it say about him?
Let's see here. Yeah, more about.
I'm sorry. I can't really think of any good stories to share. The ones I do know will just bring down your mood.
Is he depressed?
I guess.
Oh, poor guy.
My past? If you promise not to look at me, or you'll let me wear my diving helmet, maybe then I could try to tell you a little more. Personality's one part of it, but the bigger reason is that I've been avoiding my past for so long now, it might be hard to talk about. I read in a book that when people die, they turn into stars and watch over us from the sky. I hate my real father. He abandoned my mother and me, so I don't care about him. But if my mother looks down from the sky and sees that, after all this time in his new home, the child she protected with her life is still so timid that he can't fend for himself, will she be disappointed in me?
Oh, he's so sweet.
Anyway, moving on.
I don't like thinking about my time in the House of the Hearth under the previous director. All I'll say is, my habit of retreating into the sea started back then. Father changed not only me, but my view of our family too. Then Linny and Lynette joined the family. And for the first time ever, I gained some genuine companions.
Well, I'm glad he got them.
I once swore an oath that I would do whatever it takes to protect this family, and never look back. Now, I stay true to this oath not because it's the previous director's orders, or because it's what Father expects of me, but because it's my own desire. Please keep our family secret safe, so that I can keep my promise.
Do we ever see his father in this thing?
Father in quotation marks.
What does that mean?
You'll see.
Okay, all right.
So, hobbies, food, birthdays.
Nope.
Nope. So yeah, that's from Renee.
Okay.
I guess we're moving on.
Yeah.
Now, is this a boy or a girl?
All right, this is a boy.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. A grown-ass man.
It does help.
I mean, he does have a cane.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Monsieur Nivelette.
Does he have something? Oh, does he control water?
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
First impression?
He looks very regal. Is he royalty or anything?
Well, let's see.
Greetings. I am the Chief Justice, or Iudex, of Fontaine. But you may simply address me by using my surname, Neuvillette. Not because I wish to keep my distance from you. No, I am merely conscious that being overly familiar may bring the impartiality of the judiciary into question in some people's eyes. If you have any requests or concerns, then, to the extent permissible by law at least, we can sit down and discuss them together as we partake of some imported water from Chaoyin village.
He lives very high.
Mm-hmm. He is the judge.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I am no rabid fan of trials. I preside over them only out of duty, for this is the task that has been entrusted to me. So you have heard of that local legend as well? Who told you about that? Or more pertinently, who was responsible for spreading it in the first place? Well, never mind. I don't think that the Hydro Dragon would weep per se. I think he just finds himself a little stirred when he gets a taste of the tears that have been shed on this land on account of all of the emotions they contain.
Oh.
This is a topic that has been discussed ad nauseum. I don't mean to condescend to humanity, but it is quite clear to me that society's concepts of justice, fairness, equality, and rule of law are not equivalent, and never can be. Now, of course, water always seeks its own level, and it was in this spirit that the previous Hydro Archon Egeria hoped to achieve universal equality by connecting all things with love. Her successor chose instead to seek equality by means of the law. Ultimately, due to various external factors, this unfortunately manifested itself in the distorted form of trials for the sake of trials. Nevertheless, there are reasons for everything. I suppose I should refrain from criticizing her.
He's a bit of a snob.
Since you hail from beyond the stars, I invite you to be my witness as I judge this upended world. This realm dismantled was of the formidable Father himself, but what now reigns here is a cluster of filthy feathers. Though we live in a world of disarray, I shall undertake to restore all that has been broken. The time that I have spent living among the citizens of Fontaine and traveling with you has transformed my views. Even though before this I had pardoned the sins of humanity long ago, I can promise you that my future judgments will not cause any harm to the common folk. That being said, my grievances with the usurpers have yet to be settled. They owe a debt of blood that shall not be forgotten.
He's not a very good judge if he already has his own opinion.
I was once advised to wear a counterfeit vision so that I might more easily intervene during moments of crisis. To be quite frank, I was not enamored by this suggestion, nor the implication that one must only exercise the power that is rightfully theirs under false pretenses. With that said, however, I have developed a newfound appreciation for the value of human yearning and determination, having spent considerable time around vision-bearing humans. Excuse me? You're saying that even some members of the Seven don a counterfeit vision before mingling with their people? My apologies. I was just caught off guard by the absurdity of the situation.
Okay, he's a bit too snobby for me.
Yeah, let's see what he thinks about the other gods.
Okay.
Nothing will stop me from rendering judgment on each of the seven. As the Archon who won the authority of Geo, Deus Ori must be called to trial. If one does not wish to see us on opposite sides of a conflict, they need not worry, for I intend to stay in Fontaine for the foreseeable future, which could well mean another 400 years. As another point of consolation, even when the trial eventually takes place, it is still not a given that the judgment will lead to a physical confrontation.
He's out to get him.
I shall fulfill my vow to judge all of the seven in turn, even if the sky should fall and the ground give way. As the recipient of the authority of Animo, the god of breeze and hope must also stand trial. He spends most of his time being a harmless drunkard. Well, even so, I must meet him for myself and proceed from there. As a survivor of the dragon race who has regained my full dragonhood, I must fulfill my oaths and obligations, even if it means returning all the water in the oceans back to the heavens. In taking the authority of Electro, the Narukami placed herself on the list of the usurpers. She will... Oh, you say she has isolated herself in the plane of Euthymia, and now rarely appears in public. Then I shall pay her a visit in another few centuries.
He's awfully long-lived then.
Though the day will come when I put her on trial, I must commend the god of verdure on her sense of responsibility. Few things are without flaws in this world, but the devotion and benevolence she displays are a testament to her commitment to continued progress. I felt enormous regret when I learned of the mistreatment she has endured over the past 500 years.
So is she going to be one of the few that he doesn't go after with a vengeance?
Most likely.
Okay, alright.
But yeah, I guess you could say he is the Hydro god. Because...
Yeah. He's all in the water, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could say he is a Hydro Archon, but I guess the official one is coming up next.
Okay.
I usually do my best to avoid forming personal relationships or even collaborating with others outside of established procedures. But you have shown yourself to be trustworthy, and you have no problematic entanglements with Fontaine's local factions. Therefore, I would be pleased to journey with you. This is something that I can only say in private. I could never publicly share my views on this matter. It positively baffles me that Fanta has managed to become such a popular drink. Though I suppose its appeal to humans is not beyond comprehension. One can both rehydrate and replenish blood sugar in one gulp, and at an exceptionally cheap price.
Yeah, he's talking about the soda.
Yeah.
I went to see an opera recently. It was about a lady whose personal charm and manipulative schemes allowed her to continue to dominate the affairs of the grand mansion where she lived even after her death, like a ghost that refused to be exorcised. The acting was impeccable, and the story exceptional. It also reminded me of the current state of affairs in the real world.
He really does have a negative view of his world.
For a number of reasons, I rarely leave Fontaine. As a result, though I enjoy tasting spring water from all over the world, I always have it delivered to me here, rather than collecting it myself. And yes, subtle as the flavor differences between samples of different regions may be, I am perfectly capable of distinguishing between them. Do you still doubt me? I am the Udex. I do not lie. I have to say, my daily life is not without its inconveniences. For instance, I often find myself stepping on my robes as I sit down, or squashing my coiffure against the chair. And if I lean my head too far back, sometimes my hair even gets caught in the ornamentation. Nevertheless, I must wear these garments to maintain the dignity of a Chief Justice, and endure whatever inconveniences this entails. Incidentally, the world at large appears to operate on this general principle too. Everyone is faced with an identity that they must accept, endure, understand, and eventually learn to coexist with. This has been my experience all along.
Does he get along with anybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Water tasting is a rather sophisticated discipline. Pyro-heated water has the standard au naturel flavor found ubiquitously in the natural world, while water boiled using charcoal has distinctly rustic notes. Similarly, while cryo-chilled water is cold but otherwise unremarkable, the frozen rivers of Snezhnaya, when melted, produce a water with an entirely different flavor profile altogether. People seem to respond to the sight of a man in the rain without an umbrella, as if it were some sort of strange spectacle. Animals can survive for weeks without food, but merely a few days without water. There is no dish that could ever compare to pure, unadulterated water. With that in mind, food items that contain plenty of liquid are the next best thing.
Bet he loves watermelon.
Yeah. He is a man of refined taste when it comes to water.
Yeah?
There's even this one line that is very infamous. Yeah, give me a second.
Okay.
Water comes in many flavors to the discerning palate. Mondstadt's water is crisp and pure, while water from Liyue has an enduring aftertaste. In Inazuma, the water possesses a depth of flavor unlike any other. Sumeru's water, meanwhile, has a rich and complex flavor profile, but it must be savored patiently to fully appreciate it.
Okay. So that was Nivelette. So yeah, they don't call him the water god, water dragon for nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Cool. Alright, on to group number 2. Yeah. So yeah, Wriothesley.
Why does he look so military?
We'll see in a moment.
Okay.
But yeah, just give out your first impression.
He's an honest to goodness guy. I don't see any frills. I don't see any bows. I like him.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely a cool guy.
Yeah.
Hello, please try to quickly summarize your intents and goals for this meeting. Oh, you're not here for business? Well, that just makes me even more nervous. All right, then perhaps we should sit down and discuss things in a little more detail. Oh, and you can call me Your Grace. That's what they all call me down in the fortress, and, well, I kind of got used to it.
Is he royalty? Is he like a prince or something?
Let's see.
People have this tendency to see me as an all-knowing figure with mystical powers. In reality, I'm just one man with 2 eyes and 2 ears. How can I possibly know everything that's happening in the fortress of Meripede?
Okay.
I finished serving my sentence long ago, so there's nothing stopping me from taking an occasional breather in the overworld as a free citizen. There's no need to worry. The fortress of Meripede doesn't currently have any problems so big as to require my round-the-clock presence to operate effectively.
So he was in jail before?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I formed my first impressions of many people based on the contents of their inmate registration papers. Seems like you're no exception to the rule.
Ouch.
They say it's best to begin a friendship when there's no conflict of interest. Seems like the appropriate time has come. Some inmates once taught me a way to wield the elements by throwing around chemical potions. I guess whoever's in charge of handing out visions doesn't care too much about a little rule bending. If a man will not work, he shall not eat. That phrase has been on the walls of the fortress of Meripede for as long as anyone can remember. I don't know who first came up with it, but it's been pretty useful in the underworld.
Yeah, what do you think about Nuvalet?
I was once summoned by Nervilet to discuss some matters with him in his office. When I approached the Palais Mimonia, I saw him standing by the road, completely drenched in the rain. I held out an umbrella for him, and, well, he thanked me politely. His expression was a little distressed, I guess. I can only assume that I had disturbed him in the middle of something.
Yeah.
He likes his water.
Yes.
Leave him alone.
Yeah.
I'll admit that when I removed the House of the Heart's spies in the underworld, that was kind of an intentional provocation to the Fatui. But their only response was to send down a bunch of children. Was it because they truly saw those kids as disposable, or because they knew I wouldn't have it in me to let them come to serious harm?
Oh, he's got a good heart.
As a general rule, the less a person sees of me, the happier their life is. Oh, that scar on my body? It's from a gash I got while battling a gigantic undersea monster that tried to take over the fortress of Meripede. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's a jokester.
Yeah.
Did you know many similar models of handcuffs can all be unlocked using the same master key? Except mine, of course. They're different.
Built different.
Yeah.
Honestly, my personal abilities are pretty limited. I got no talent in medicine, inventions, or shipmaking. But what I do know how to do is find those people with those talents and get them to come work for me. I've managed to get myself to a pretty comfortable place in life, but there's still some things I want that are outside my reach, like a peaceful and happy childhood or the ability to trust other people. Maybe some people would see those feelings as shameful or contradictory, but I don't see a problem with sharing them. After all, why should anybody be afraid to admit what they want?
Oh, he wants to be a child again.
Boxing? To me, that's more of a necessity than a hobby. You got any suggestions for actual hobbies? While I do possess some stereotypical Fontanian looks, when you're an orphan, you can never really be sure where you're from. Who knows, maybe I'll take a dip in the primordial sea one of these days just to check. I usually take some milk with my coffee and 2 cubes of sugar with my tea. You ever had one of Sijuin's milkshakes? The taste that comes to mind is... what's that flavor? Desolation.
Ouch.
Okay. Yeah, that's Risley.
Cool.
Yeah, he works at the prison.
That makes sense. He knows it well.
Alright. Farina. So yeah, you could say she's the Hydra Archon, but long story.
She's just not as much one as our judge.
Yeah, first impression.
I like that she's very sure of herself.
I mean, I thought you were gonna point out like the big hat or the big hair thingy sticking out.
No, that just gives her charm.
Okay. Anyway,
are you just standing there with your mouth gaping? You must be stunned and at a loss for words. Understandable. It is I, after all, Fontaine's most beloved star, Farina. I'm on a very tight schedule, so you're lucky to even get an appointment with me. Who are these people at the tea party? Why, they are my loyal followers, of course. All right, I suppose I'll introduce them to you. This is Mademoiselle Crabaletta, my most adorable maid, although she accidentally cuts my outfits from time to time. This is Surintendant Cheval-Moran, my reliable housekeeper who keeps my busy life in order. And finally, the one keeping everybody in line is Gentilhomme Usher, my loyal conferencier. I may have allowed you to participate in my tea party, but you'll still need to work hard to gain their approval.
So her besties are the people who work for her?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, you probably notice a lot of these names are not exactly English. I think they're based off of French.
I think so too.
Yeah, French.
I'm very confident in my singing skills, but there aren't many pieces of music that are worthy of my vocal prowess. I hope the creatives in the theater troupe get their act together and don't keep me waiting in vain. Given that we know
She's
each
so
other,
arrogant.
you may relax a little and needn't act so respectfully in my presence. Wait, what's that expression on your face? Don't tell me that you've never respected me from the very beginning.
Oh.
Yeah, like at the very beginning when I first met her, I just hated her. Yeah, at first I hated her, but after going through all the Archon quests, the Fontaine quests, I've learned to understand her.
Oh.
My story has already come to an end, and so the next act shall be about our story. In which case, we should probably start charging double for public appearances. I am so happy! Once the ancient prophecy came to an end and everything was over, I fell into low spirits for a very long time. People who stand on the stage basking in the adulation of their audience must also bear the pressures of being in the public eye and living up to everyone's expectations. But I knew very well my person wouldn't be enough, and that putting on the act of a god would be the only way to satisfy their adoration. And at the end of the day, all I ever experienced was loneliness. So, there came a point when I loathed the very thought of acting and locked myself in my room. It wasn't until the moment I stood on stage and faced the audience again that I realized the anxiety in my heart had dissipated. The reason I can now stand before the crowd's watchful gaze is perhaps because I have finally started to act as myself.
I like her.
Fontaine's Opera House has seen several reforms, and with each reform, opposition was to be expected. As I remember, crowds would often gather in the Opera House making a ruckus. Then, one time, it became so loud my ears were ringing. I frightened them by stating, "I forbid anyone from discussing such pointless matters." I clearly remember Neuvillette tapping his cane on the ground at that precise moment, while the whole place immediately fell silent. Sometimes I can't help but inadvertently show my intimidating side. I hope my people understand.
It's funny she brought him up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're linked.
I really like the Lumitoile. Those creatures can glow and shine in even places where no one sees them. That's what I call a true star. If only there were an opera about the Lumitoile, then I could literally play the role of a lovely rogue starfish on stage. Of course I know Linny and Lynette. I used to frequently attend their magic shows. Though they're very popular, they're still much less popular than me. Only my performances would draw a completely sold-out crowd. Even standing tickets would be out. But now, I've already decided to hang up my acting career, so it's perfectly normal for my popularity to decline.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. She had to, pretend to be a god.
Yeah. And her crowds just aren't what they used to be.
Uh-huh.
Poor thing.
I'm very grateful to Nervilette for all the hard work he's done for Fontaine in the past few centuries. It seems he doesn't intend to investigate my crimes of deceiving the people. Anyway, we're no longer working in tandem. And it's been a long time since I've been to the Palais Mermonia. I imagine that this is good for both of us, right?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't communicated with him much, but Nervilette claims he's trustworthy, so I suppose he must be a good person. Oh, come to think of it, I've received some tea from Risley before, and it was exquisite. You're interested in hearing about me? I suppose there's no helping that. After all, I was once the biggest celebrity of all Fontaine. Every day, countless journalists would come flocking around me, trying to get the inside scoop on my personal life. So I have loads of experience rejecting them. Of course, I don't intend to use this experience on you. With the right delicacies, I might be willing to exchange some of my secrets. Someone recently recommended me to try surfing, so I went and gave it a shot. Keeping balance on the rolling waves was a little tricky at first, but I managed to get the hang of it pretty quickly. Maybe I'm just a natural surfer. Anyway, feeling the wind and waves up close and riding along the horizon was rather amazing. You should give it a try. If you have time, could you tell me more about your journey? I would love to hear all your fantastic stories. How should I put it? I easily feel interested in all kinds of things, but it isn't long before I feel bored again. Perhaps the more easily enthusiasm sparks, the more quickly it fades. But when I'm with you, I seem to constantly feel happy. Such an amazing feeling. Recently, I've been wondering if I've been a little too hard on myself in the past. In my efforts to maintain the reserved manner of a deity, I never got the chance to enjoy my life. Which is why I've become obsessed with shopping lately. I've bought many new precious things, like dazzling rainbow-colored tea bags, fully automated extendable cutlery, and a saddle especially made for riding seahorses. But in the end, I realized that most of the stuff I bought was useless, so I sent them all to the troupe to be used as props in performances. Strange. Before I bought those things, I was certain they would all be of good use to me.
That's always the way of shopping.
People love talking about the past and often regret the beautiful things that have now faded into history. They also love to talk about the future, as if they're willing to sacrifice everything for an uncertain tomorrow. I don't agree with their way of thinking, yet I also feel very envious. I once lived in a world without a past or a future. To cope with that anxiety, I tried to create and act out a stronger, more godlike version of myself. Over the centuries, the stronger role I tried to play gradually merged with my real self. Even I can't separate the two now. But perhaps there's no need to distinguish them. experiences of the past have formed who I am now. And that flawed performance has also become the most important part of me.
I like her. She knows who she is.
Yeah, she has a bit of a tragic backstory.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Alright, cool. So moving on.
Uh-huh.
Charlotte.
What is that in her hand?
The camera.
Is she like a reporter or
Yes.
something? Okay.
It's like, what's on the news today?
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna check into it.
Right.
Hi there! I'm Charlotte, a journalist with the Steambird. It's a pleasure to meet you. If you've got time, would you be open to doing an exclusive interview? My journalistic instincts tell me that there's a treasure trove of news in you just bursting to get out.
She's a born journalist.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Yeah.
People aren't always very fond of journalists.
They
You know
aren't.
what they say. Lies are soft and malleable, but the truth is sharp and inflexible. I can't take a good photograph without an interesting subject. I really have to force myself to press the shutter button if I'm not excited by what I'm snapping. All right, the time has come for your interview. Ready to be a star? Just follow my lead and try to look good for the camera. You too, Paimon. You have the power of flight. Could you try to make it look a little more exciting? Good news! I've convinced Ufrozi to make you the next headliners of the Steambird. You'll be right up there on the front cover. There'll be a whole feature about you that I wrote myself, and... huh? What do you mean, no need? Come on, I've been pushing Ufrozi for ages on this. Can't you reconsider? I'll make it up to you, I promise. I'll treat you to a huge meal. Please! To be honest, I'd prefer to have an animo-vision. Being able to fly around freely would make getting to interviews so much easier. A cryovision's not too bad, though. At least I don't need to worry about my camera overheating. You're a credible source of the unbelievable truth. That's my journalistic motto. Yep, exactly. Credible and incredible at the same time. Huh? What's that? Oh, if I had to choose, then obviously being credible is much more important. But most readers would sooner pay money for sensational stories than mundane facts. So we have to focus on the most incredible true stories to keep our readers engaged. Allow me to introduce the one and only Monsieur Verite. He's not just any camera. He's my trusty companion and assistant. See his little hat and bow tie? Oh, I had those custom made by Chiori. Pretty neat, huh? I've got loads of other outfits for him too, all in different styles. He comes dressed to impress for every interview, whatever the occasion.
That's funny she named her camera.
Uh-huh.
Ah, surprise, surprise. Linny refused an interview with me once again. Do you know
Well,
how
she
many
does that to
times
keep
that is
herself.
now? Actually, I've lost count. But never mind. Evading me only further confirms my suspicion that he's hiding the news story of a lifetime. As long as I keep digging, I'll find it. And when I do, it will shake the world like no other news report in history. No matter what question you pose to her, Lynette just calmly lowers her eyes with an
That was
expressionless
nice.
look on her face. It's like she's some sort of clockwork doll. I'm really tempted to write an article titled something like The Genius Magician's Puppet Assistant, Magic's Best Kept Secret. But I have a sneaking suspicion that even that wouldn't get a reaction out of her. So, did you get to meet the Duke in person? Yeah? Any nuggets of information that I should know about? Never mind the credit coupons, the coupon cafeteria. If a man will not work, he shall not eat. That's all just generic filler. I'm talking about personal anecdotes about the man of Meripede himself. Huh? What do you mean, confidentiality? Oh, not you too. We had a deal. That does it. Remember that gigantic feast I treated you to? I want my money back. Get your butts back to prison and do your time, you swindlers, you.
Okay.
I've met Fremine a few times since being introduced. He quickly took an interest in Monsieur Verite, that's my camera/assistant, and even made a few improvements to my lenses. I gotta say, though, my heart was in my mouth watching him completely dismantle Monsieur Verite in a matter of seconds. Amazing he managed to reassemble it just as swiftly. He seems very experienced. I was convinced he must have graduated from the Fontaine Research Institute, but he denied it. If you want to interview the Udex, you have to provide all the interview questions in advance and get them reviewed by the relevant department at the Palais Mermonia, who decide which questions to approve and which ones you're not allowed to ask. It's their way of making sure the interview goes off without a hitch. Oh, it's such a rigmarole. I'm losing the will to live just talking about it.
Rigmarole. That's such a weird word.
Yeah?
Lady Farina has a very captivating presence. She was born to be a star. Euphrasie once assigned a journalist to shadow her, but he quit not long into the assignment. From what I've heard, the reason he left was that Farina insisted on seeing every photo he took of her right away, and she'd make him redo it if she wasn't happy with how it turned out. Apparently, she was so picky that the poor guy once had to take 127 shots of her in the same pose before she was content. I'm well aware that following the truth wherever it leads is risky business.
You
But
haven't told me
buried
about
truths
Charlotte.
make
I don't know
exclusive
Charlotte.
news, so good luck trying to keep secrets from me when we need a good story. Telling journalists in this world with a strong sense of journalistic integrity. I make it my goal to provide the public with only the best exclusive news through powerful, engaging, and honest reporting. When I first started working as a journalist, I didn't know anything about how to write the news, so I had to figure it all out for myself by reading
this is
articles by
Charlotte.
other people. As well as the Steambird, I also looked at some other independent publications out there, which tend to be more specialized. For example, there's The Observer for celebrity gossip, Leisure Weekly, which focuses on competitive sport and other entertainment news, Top Chef for those who like to read all the food critiques in one place, and Bedazzled, which is just sort of a glorified rumor and speculation mill. I learned a whole lot from reading all those papers. Or, well, I at least learned how to master a bunch of different writing styles. I once spent 6 months working
talks
undercover
a
for an
lot.
expose
Yeah, she's a
piece
yapper.
about a merchant who was selling shoddy food products. I disguised myself as a vagrant, infiltrated the back kitchen, took a job as a kitchen hand, and stuck around until I'd gathered enough solid evidence about their misdeeds. Then I put it all in an article and had it published in the paper. Oh, the backlash was intense. They were punished for their crimes, sure, but that didn't stop them from launching a vicious campaign of vengeance against me almost immediately. I was coming home to threat letters sitting on my bedside table on a daily basis, and we'd also find mud slung on the front door to our office. The Steambird quickly filed a report to the guards, and I was sent to Mondstadt to report on Genius Invocation TCG. Oh, it took a while before I could safely return to Fontaine. These kinds of things happen all the time. I honestly don't know how Euphrasie deals with it.
So now that she mentioned it, yeah, she was actually teased when we first let you sell the characters.
Uh-huh. Well,
Yeah, she was actually teased last year.
okay.
I've always been a very curious person. Even as a kid, long before I ever thought about going into journalism, I was always convinced that secrets and mysteries were lurking in every corner. To me, the world is a giant hoard of hidden treasure, with countless stories waiting to be uncovered. Every time I see something where I think a secret might be hiding, I snap a photo with my camera and add it to my collection. These photos are like my own personal treasure map, and I'm constantly going back to them, trying new ways to decipher them and expose the truth. I don't really care whether these hidden truths are significant, what they mean, or what the wider ramifications are. I just want to bring them into the light of day. To put it in adventurer terms, I guess for me, it's all about the thrill of the chase and not the treasure at the end. I've also met a lot of people along the way. All my Fontaine friends, Euphrasie, who believes I was born to be a journalist, and people like you who join me in the search for the truth. Without everyone's help, I'd probably still be that nosy kid who runs around furiously snapping photos like a lunatic. Anywho, it's not often that I get to be the interviewee, but this has been a real pleasure.
She found her life's calling. Good deal.
I love collecting different camera lenses. They all have different strengths. Some might have an incredible range of focal lengths. Others might have a really wide field of view. Oh, and there's also more novelty ones that can apply special effects to the image. Take this one, for example. When you take a portrait photo with this, it turns their face all chubby. Come on, I'll take one of you. And you, Paimon.
She's already chubby as it is.
I I've ended up with a less than favorable reputation in some people's eyes. I think it's because I can sometimes be a little bit, intense in interviews. Now, whenever I show up to interview someone, they're always really wary of me. But in my defense, with some people, you really have to put the pressure on or they won't open up. Sweet things are my weakness. However big the main meal, I can always manage a dessert or several. Or as my mother puts it, there's always a special place reserved in my stomach for dessert. Oh, spicy food doesn't agree with me at all. It's like my stomach is fitted with a super sensitive spice detector or something, because even the mildest hint of chili will set it off. One small bite and the stomach ache begins. Oh, and it always lasts for like an entire day. Ugh.
Alright.
All right.
So that's Charlotte. Alright, next, Navia.
She looks like she's happy.
Nice to meet you. I am Navia, the esteemed president, leader, commander-in-chief, executive director, and boss of Spina di Rosula. You strike me as somebody special, a person of character. Something tells me that this is the beginning of a long partnership between us, perhaps even as long as all the titles in front of my name. I always say that blind optimism isn't the answer. If you want a bright future, you have to go out and seize it with your own two hands. So come over here. Now, take my hands in yours and give them a good shake. There. See? Doesn't that feel good? People who know about my past might think I've suffered a lot of misfortune. But I don't see it like that at all. I count myself lucky to have received so much love in life. Some people call me boss, others demoiselle, but none of that does anything for me. My favorite thing to be called is partner. But only by you, of course. So just know that my vainer side would be over the moon if you could indulge me a little more often. People say that a secret shared is a secret no more. But I like to think that true friends keep each other's secrets. What? Veiled threat? No, of course not. Granted, as president of Spina di Rosula, I do have my ways of making people keep their mouths shut. But don't worry, I promise not to use those on you. Here, take a look at my vision. Oh, I love how shiny it is. Doesn't it go great with my dress? Still, it's nothing compared to using the elements without a vision. And with no training or anything either, right? So cool. My favorite dog breed of all is the chestnut hunting hound. You know how they have the little spots above their eyes? Oh, they look just like eyebrows, don't they? That's why they look so innocent and earnest all the time. Please keep this a secret from me, though. I don't want to hurt the other dog's feelings. If you've spent long enough in the Fleuve Cendra, you might have noticed that there are a lot of other groups in Fontaine besides the Spina di Rosula. Beware of them. They each have their own agenda, and they're not all friendly like us. If you ever find yourself in a tight spot, you can always ask Mr. Tetreault at the bar for help. Unless you're dealing with someone who isn't in the mood to sit down and have a conversation. In which case, White Glove will sort things out. You can count on him. I really love the Pluie Lotus. It's such a beautiful color. Plus, when you see them in full bloom, it's a sure sign that the rainy season is finally over. Charlotte's known for her fast and furious reporting, but it's her photography skills that really impress me. She once snapped a quick photo of me, a waist-up shot, and the result was absolutely stunning. It was like looking at an oil painting. She seems to have a knack for writing extraordinary news stories and taking the most eye-catching photos. I guess she was born to be a journalist. Oh, I was lucky enough to catch her in an opera when I was young. Even though it was a charity show, the tickets were nearly impossible to get. She was performing in character then, but I thought she seemed more in her element then than she ever did as an Archon giving speeches up in the opera box. Looking back, I guess my intuition was right. How to describe Monsieur Neuvillette? He's complex in some ways, but very straightforward in others. I guess a good analogy would be rocky reefs in the sea. Trying to navigate through obstacles you can't see makes for a bumpy ride, but if you can figure out how they work, you start to spot the signs. Trying to discuss anything with that guy is an exhausting process. Chlorian says I needn't have any reservations about collaborating with him in the scope of our pre-existing agreement, but I still shouldn't trust everything that comes out of his mouth. No wonder my father never tried to get involved with the affairs of the fortress. I think I'll play it safe and keep things that way. Oh, I know magicians can often be all bravado and razzmatazz, but I can tell that Linny is a sincere guy who cares deeply about his friends and family. He's so mature for his age. It catches me off guard sometimes. Oh, and how could I forget? It was so kind of him to try and cheer up the children of Poisson with an impromptu free magic show during the flood. I'll have to invite him and Lynette over for some macarons at my place when I get the chance. I know Lynette's always conjuring teacups out of thin air, so surely at least she's a fan of a proper tea break. The Spina's work is basically, well, a little bit of everything. But the focus is always on solving other people's problems. Oh, that probably makes it sound worse than it is, though. Sure, I'm making other people's problems my own, but I always get a real boost out of being able to help people.
So is that, because I don't feel like I know her well yet, so does she like being around people? Does she like helping people?
I mean, I guess we are missing quite a bit of context.
Yeah, I don't get her. I don't know what kind of person she really is.
Yeah, like you do have to play the main story in order to get the full picture. Like all of this, like all these lines, it's all like context for previous stuff.
Yeah. Well, is she a good president?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where were we?
2, I think.
I've always thought that it's important to appreciate the beauty in the world. The blossoms in the spring, summers by the sea, the smiles on your friends' faces. You shouldn't take those things for granted. Sometimes, I like to go out into the wild, find a quiet place with no one else around, and do some target practice. It's a great way to de-stress. Want to try? I can walk you through it step by step. You'd be my first student, but I feel like I'd be a great teacher. I still remember everything that my father and Nanny Bakari ever taught me. I won't become the same kind of person as my father was. Some veterans of the Spina think that I'm becoming more and more like him. But I think the trend they're referring to is a superficial one, born out of the simple fact that some problems only have so many solutions. Spina di Rosula has changed a lot since my father's day, and I intend to be the president for the Spina of today. I also don't think I'm going to turn into my mother either. People say we have similar personalities, and I can kind of understand her reasons for making the decisions she did back in the day, but even so... I have a sudden urge to take a trip on the Clementine line. Could you come with me? I don't have a particular goal in mind, but maybe we could take a walk around the city afterwards? Oh, I've loved baking ever since I was a child. Don't you think it's magical? You throw a bunch of random ingredients together in the right amounts, put the mixture in the oven, and then just watch as it slowly balloons up and transforms into a delicious treat. Hey, do you want to make gingerbread together sometime? We can make it into a fun little competition. See who can build the biggest, most beautiful gingerbread house. Cleaning up after baking a cake is a nightmare, The flour just gets everywhere, and the leftover egg whites and cream go all sticky and gross. I'll just go find a helper. I like trying new things, for the surprise factor. But before you question my sense of taste, let me clarify that just because I can appreciate the novelty in a dish doesn't mean I'm claiming it tastes amazing. I never enjoy leftovers that have been left too long. It just feels like sacrilege to neglect the poor food when it's fresh, then eat after it's gone stale.
Okay, so that's Navia. Alright, and we are back. Okay, so on to next group.
Okay.
Chevreuse.
Looks like she was modeled up like on a British soldier or something.
I'm Chevreuse, captain of Fontaine's Special Security and Surveillance Patrol. You'll excuse me if I skip the pleasantries. Is there a case that needs my attention?
She's all business, okay.
All business. Let's see here.
The Special Security and Surveillance Patrol deals with a whole host of heinous crimes and dangerous criminals. As such, the methods we employ to enforce the law can be a bit on the harsher side.
Ouch.
There's an unwritten rule in the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol. Anytime a member dies in the line of duty, we hold on to their cap. Should a child of a deceased member ever join the Special Patrol, we then pass the cap down to them. I suppose you could call it a way of passing on a member's legacy. In my free time, I like to read crime novels. They differ from murder mysteries in that they focus less on describing the complicated details of the crime itself and more on the emotional and human conflict surrounding the case. I find them very interesting.
Wow, she lives for her job.
You can come to me at any time if you have questions about the law. Actually, you should come to me the minute you have the slightest inkling that something may not be legal. I can't tell you how many idiots I encounter every year who overstep simply because they fail to check where the line is drawn. I don't want to see you become like them. My vision is certainly an integral part of the way I execute my duties. For instance, my musket has never had a major malfunction since I received my vision. I'd say a captain who wields a musket and a vision is more than enough to scare off a few cowardly criminals.
Yeah.
Harcourt really did it. He arrested Milas, even though she was his true love. Oh, I have to admire him for that. Although, did Milas really do anything wrong? All she did was find some jewelry and sell it off. I guess it didn't belong to her, but it's hardly the heinous crime that the aristocrats made it out to be. It's hard to know what justice should look like sometimes, isn't it? Although our organization belongs to the Maison Gardiennage, the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol makes little use of Gardamex. As for the reason, well, let's just say those cumbersome machines would only get in the way of our bullets. I've heard about the murder case involving Navia's father. It caused quite the stir in the Maison Gardiennage at the time. It was the source of many disagreements, I believe. Fortunately, the truth has come to light, and the true culprit has been held accountable. Justice may not always be swift, but it always prevails in the end.
Yeah, I guess that was one detail in Navia's lines that she didn't mention about the death of her father.
Okay. Well, that might have helped because, like I said, she was kind of hard to
yeah, that was part of the main story.
Okay.
So yeah, anyway.
Linny is quite the famous magician. We once had a case where we arrested a magician suspected of deliberate harm, fraudulent behavior, and murder. But we could never figure out his methods. In the end, we brought on Linny as a consultant. He helped us find a crucial piece of evidence that led to the successful conviction of the suspect. I heard that an author actually used that case as the basis for their mystery novel about a magician who used their craft to commit crimes. Unfortunately, the author ended up going a little overboard on the graphic detail, and since the crime is still fresh in everyone's minds, it'll be a while before they're able to get it published.
You can't tell stuff like that.
I once saw Freminet in a shop where we both reached for the same gadget. It was the last one available, but just as I was about to tell him he could have it, he withdrew his hand and ran out of the store.
Oh, he's so sweet.
It might sound odd, but he fled like the guards were after him. The work Risley does is highly effective. At least all criminals know that the Fortress of Meripede isn't the type of place you want to stay at long enough to grow old. That fact comes in handy during our interrogation work. Charlotte is the type of reporter that really gives you a headache. Whenever there's a major case, she's always one of the first people in the vicinity, no matter how hard we try to secure the scene. One time, she was even detained as a suspect for half a month. But she was still able to finish her article while in custody. I really do need to find the time to have a formal conversation with her editor about her behavior. Everyone knows that the Udex abstains himself of all personal emotion when presiding over a trial. Some even say he lacks the warmth of human emotion. But the way I see it, justice should remain uncorrupted by personal feelings. Those who break the law bear guilt. It's as simple as that.
I'm sorry, but he's got a lot of personal feelings about a whole bunch of things.
Lady Farina once ordered us to carry out some sort of ceremonial musketeer performance. She not only wanted each of us outfitted with special ceremonial muskets, but she wanted us to practice all sorts of specialized drill formations as well. Luckily, in the end, she couldn't find the right song to pair with the performance, and the matter was dropped entirely. Sorry, I'm not great at talking to people. Well, talking to people outside of an interrogation room, that is. If there's anything you want to know, please just ask. The Special Security and Surveillance Patrol is just one of the many branches of the Maison Gardiennage. We have a more daring way of doing things, and some in the Maison Gardiennage are under the impression that we don't exactly play by the rules. But I don't think the way the Special Patrol operates should be influenced by outside forces. The criminals we face aren't your everyday goody-goodies from the Palais Mermonia. When crimes are committed swiftly and without warning, like the sudden downpour of a rainstorm, we have to be able to respond just as fast. The criminals I encounter aren't all cold-blooded killers and heartless villains. Most of them start off by making a small mistake, but are too afraid to own up to it. In their efforts to make up for it in secret, they end up getting sucked into a whirlpool of lies. Before they know it, they're in over their heads and they're forced down the path of a criminal despite the best of intentions. There's this line by my favorite playwright that goes, "Lies are the soil in which the seeds of crime are sown." But he was arrested for plagiarism a few years later. Talk about dramatic irony, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very ironic.
After my father was imprisoned, I was labeled a crook's daughter. Growing up in Fleuve Cendre, I saw firsthand how many corners of Fontaine remained shrouded in shadow. Though my upbringing didn't garner me many friends, the knowledge I acquired was far more precious. Those who enforce the law must have their own conception of justice, one that they use to govern their actions. That is what my father taught me, and it has proved itself to be true many times over. To be honest, as the captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol, I've witnessed evil beyond measure. Too many times I've seen good, innocent people get hurt or even lose their lives after getting caught up in events beyond their control. I can't help but feel angry and powerless whenever I think about them. I firmly believe that criminals must be punished, but we must not let punishment trap us in an endless cycle of vengeance. If we are blinded by our emotions and let them control our actions, we run the risk of drowning in them. Those who hold more power should be especially cognizant of that fact. We must all search for our own sense of justice, but we must also be wary of losing ourselves in the pursuit of it.
I like her. She's got a good sense of right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps training, or target practice. If I really had to say, though, it would be reading crime novels. Oh, that reminds me. I should grab the latest copy of the Murder Files. I really hate wasting time learning frivolous pieces of etiquette. My time is better spent keeping criminals in check. I love anything full of grease and sugar. Food like that provides me with ample energy during the workday. Plus, it's a real mood booster. But on my days off, those fat-inducing foods become my worst enemy. That being said, absolving the world of their existence also comes with its own pleasures.
She's like a real cop. She likes her donuts.
Ugh, I can't really handle eating raw food. If I'm gonna eat it, then it has to be fully cooked.
Okay.
Cool.
Alright, next. Sinyun.
I don't even know what she is.
Well, let's get to know her, or at least try to know her, because, well, again, we have to go through, like, hours of context.
Yeah.
What? A cursory change in one's appearance and you barely recognize me. Then let one dispel any doubt. One is in all things unconstrained and unabashed, free to live as one pleases, go where one desires, and journey with whomsoever one wishes. Nevertheless, in light of one's considerable renown, please call me Xian Yun in public.
She's an Adeptus,
She's a what?
a godlike being, but not at the same level of, like, a god.
She looks like she could go to all kinds of really fancy parties all the time.
Okay, let's see here.
One has always been a staunch defier of convention and expectation, preferring instead the freedom to live life precisely how one pleases. It is only natural for disciples to follow in their master's footsteps. So focused are they on their individual endeavors that they are quite content to go weeks without writing. Lonely? One is most certainly not. Still, were one to find time to pay them a visit, you don't suppose they would be unduly inconvenienced by one's presence, do you?
Does she want to have a real friend?
You could say she's a bit of a tsundere.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, she does refer to herself as one.
Yeah.
To be sure, a supreme cuisine machine is no substitute for a human touch, if one wishes to prepare a truly magnificent meal. Nevertheless, using it frees up one's time to work on a new, improved model, which in turn saves more time, and so on and so forth. There will come a day, once this machine has been iterated to impeccability, that the power to cook all the delicacies known to humankind shall be within one's grasp.
Yeah, she's a builder.
Okay.
She likes making things.
One took the liberty
popcorn
of
machine.
surveying the land from the skies above, so as to fashion this route-finding compass for your future traveling convenience. When have you ever met such a considerate companion as oneself, Already intimately acquainted with said terrain, you say? Well, be that as it may. Human memory is notoriously error-prone. One of these days, you'll get yourself hopelessly lost, and then you shall be thanking one profusely for one's foresight. Despite one's lack of interest and worldly attachments, one is quite conscious indeed of the importance of bonds. Such a simple word for a thing so profound that it all but defies articulation. Take oneself and those old fossils, for example. Sometimes we go years without meeting, and even then we find no shortage of things to quarrel about at our next reunion. Yet, so deep runs our bond that no matter the physical distance between us, one will never feel alone and adrift in this world. One holds you in high esteem, child, and is pleased to count you as a friend. Do you also treasure the bond we share?
Interesting moment.
Rex Lapis once said that a vision is a call to duty, to act as a guardian watching over humankind, and that whether we choose to withdraw into the mountains or embrace the clamor of the city, we must never shirk that duty. Now the age of humankind is upon us, but one will continue to cherish this duty long into the future.
So does she think it's her duty to make life the way it's supposed to be?
Basically.
Okay.
That mechanical bird of mine is only a prototype. One had aspirations for a much larger model, hollow inside so that it could unfurl into a vehicle with which to embark on sightseeing journeys with one's old friends. The challenges of powering and operating such a device, however, proved somewhat insurmountable. After all, it required pitch control, the ability to change form, not to mention the safety features. If only Guizhong were still here. She, no doubt, would offer many baffling but ingenious solutions to this conundrum.
Yeah, Guizhong, they both were, like, rivals, I guess.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Mount Aocang is an ideal place for spiritual cultivation. It possesses natural beauty beyond compare, and the pure, unalloyed essence of nature flows strong all around. Once upon a time, many curious birds and beasts would gather and watch as one meditated. And very soon the peace and tranquility would be replaced by a chaotic chorus of chirping and screeching. And yet, one never found it offended the ear.
Yeah, what does she think about the Geogod?
When Rex Lapis first heard of one's plan to take up residence in Liyue Harbor, he recited a long and detailed list of considerations for the furnishing and adornment of a home. Natural lighting, ventilation, bespoke woodwork, procuring porcelain, placement of plants and flowers. Oh, one's mind felt ready to explode from the deluge of information. Do all facets of life in the human world take so much effort?
Apparently so.
Apparently so.
Yeah, these are, well, I mean, I guess Gami will be next, but yeah, most of these characters are characters that we talked about last year, but you probably don't remember most of them. So we'll just talk about her.
Oh, good.
You wish to know more about one's past? One doubts there would be much worth sharing. It's all ancient history by now. One is more interested to hear about your travels to the far-flung corners of the world. What forms do the gods and immortals of other nations take? Are there any of them as amenable to conversation as oneself? Let us brew some tea, and then you can tell me all about it. There was a time when many mortals longed to seek the guidance of the Adepti. One knows not how they discover the location of one's abode, but every other day or so, one would find people leaving offerings of food at the altar on Mount Aocang. Why ever would mortals expect an Adeptus to interrupt their meditation for the sake of ingesting a mortal meal? Most bemusing. Nevertheless, since their actions were heartfelt, one saw only fit to indulge in, to embrace their offerings once they had departed. Then there were those who came right to one's doorstep, requesting to be taken on as disciples. One refused to grant them an audience, but they simply would not leave. And before long, Mount Aocang had become something of a pilgrim's campsite. One promptly posted a sign outside the abode, decreeing that all would-be disciples must first present 99 dishes over a period of as many days, each dish unique in its recipe and featuring the qingshin as the main ingredient. Naturally, the crowd soon dispersed. To master the Adepti arts and the mechanical arts requires supreme talent and the utmost stillness of mind. Training would be a futile endeavor for those who cannot even persevere for a mere 3 months.
It's interesting she's using all the words that a queen would use. Is she a queen?
I mean, I guess you could say she has a high opinion of herself.
Okay, she feels like she's a queen.
For all the wondrous feats that can be accomplished by one who has mastered the mechanical arts, one often uses it for purely recreational purposes. There was one year when it snowed heavily in Liyue, and Mount Aocang was covered in several feet of snow. Seeing everyone cooped up in their abodes with nothing to do, one created a snowdrift mechanism for skiing on the mountains. One was having a tremendous time of it along with Guizhong and Streetward Rambler. Until, of course, Moon Carver noticed as much and decided to join in. Moments later, he had managed to send the mechanism flying off the rails and plummeted deep into a snowbank. It took us hours to dig him out. Later, one introduced a great many safety features to the mechanism, to the point where it could be safely piloted by even a 3-year-old child. Although this did entail a compromise on the top speed of the vehicle. One has read a great many works of popular literature since moving to Liyue Harbor. Those of the chivalric martial arts genre have proven the most entertaining. Although the heroes within their pages are all works of the imagination, would it not be even more compelling to tell the stories of the many such real-life figures with whom one is acquainted? Oh, it is a pity that one's disciples are so averse to one sharing the tales of their lives with other people. Perhaps you could relay more of the tales from your travels. One could adapt those into a novel instead. When idle and in need of diversion, basking in the winds that travel through the mountains always comes to mind. Since moving to Liyue Harbor, one has had an endless procession of old friends and new arriving at one's doorstep, either to visit or to invite one out for meals. If this continues, one may soon be running short on Mora. Eating together with friends always leaves a pleasant taste in the mouth, regardless of what food was consumed. An adeptus devotes themselves to spiritual cultivation, to which end the delicacies of the mortal realm are not necessary. When one eats such things, it is not for nourishment, but to enjoy the flavor. So, if you prepare a dish and it does not taste exquisite even to yourself, you may spare yourself the courtesy of offering to share it with me. In fact, you might find you are better off leaving the cooking to me to begin with.
Okay. She has a bird form, by the way.
I can see that.
Alright, yeah. Here's the character I was talking about. What do you think his name is pronounced?
Gaming?
Gaming. I am so glad you said his name right, Gaming.
I only did that because you made it sound like it was going to be something different, so I had to come up with something.
Because in English it says gaming.
It does.
Which, that's what this is.
Yeah.
He's named after what we do, gaming, but no, it's pronounced gaming. So a lot of people just call him gaming because it's funny.
So what is that thing he's holding in, or whatever
that's his little companion.
Okay.
Hey, boss. The name's Gaming. I'm a guard from the communications office. So, all this needs shipping, right? No. You grab a seat and have some tea. I'll get these packed up for you, no problem. It'll only take me a minute, then we can get the delivery scheduled. Oh, and if you ever want to book a wushu dance, me and my crew are available in a heartbeat. The troupe's called the Mighty Mythical Beasts, and I'm the head. Not to brag or anything. Ever been to Chiaying Village? I grew up there. It's a big tea-growing region. Songlo and Single Origin Yaoan both come from there. You know what? No time like the present. I got a box of totally dope Single Origin here. Let's get to a tea house and brew us a pot right now. I'll get some nibbles too, my treat. The fact that I'm able to put food on my plate and still have the time and energy to focus on my wushu dancing in this day and age, it's all thanks to the folks who've supported me along the way. So I owe it to them to put 110% into this job. Of course, no one's complaining if I still manage to find time to do them the occasional favor and take them for dim sum. When I'm not on a delivery run, I do wushu dancing on the streets of Liyue Harbor. Do you think you could come along and watch sometime to support me? No, it's completely free. As long as people are entertained, I'm a happy guy.
So he's like a lion dancer.
Yeah.
Always remember that you can rely on your friends. When the going gets tough, don't soldier on alone. Just get in touch and I'll be there. Oh, but hopefully it won't come to that, knock on wood. Here's hoping that next time you get in touch, everything's peaches and cream, and you just need a dim sum buddy. Some martial arts novels say that the key to becoming a kung fu master is tapping into the body's yin-yang energy reserves, hidden in the governor and conception vessels. Well, that's what getting a vision felt like. Just kidding. I'm no kung fu master, just a good neighbor, thanks to the extra energy it gives me. But that's just me. Now, imagine if you had a vision. I mean, looking at everything you can already do without one? Man, that'd be something. Manzai's such a little rascal. I gave him the name because it means well-behaved, hoping it would rub off on him. Whole lot of good that did. But it's no biggie. All that hyperactive energy makes for a more exciting wushu dance. Also, I feel like watching Manzai has helped me get a better handle on how Swan-ni look in action. As soon as I put my wushu head on, I'm right in the zone. With a lot of herbs, flowers, and even the twigs and bark of certain trees, if you dry them out, then boil them in water, it makes a really refreshing drink with a ton of health benefits. Cools you down, calms the mind, and so on. Granny and Auntie tell me that drinking one of these herbal teas before and after eating fried foods helps clear your system and reduce heatiness.
Yeah, like the thing is, like Xinyan and Xinyun have very similar names, so it's a little confusing which one's who. I think it's this one.
Auntie Xianyun always has my back. Once, she saw that my wushu head was looking a little worse for wear, and instantly said she could make like 10 more for me, all twice my size. She was pretty insistent. It took me forever to talk her down to just remodeling the one I already had. And boy, is this an improvement. It looks way more impressive, it's much lighter, and the lion blanket constantly rustles in the air like there's an adeptal wind making it dance. I couldn't be happier with it.
Okay.
Mr. Zhongli seems like the kind of guy who had an expensive education. It seems like whenever I make a delivery to a tea house or opera house, he's always there, drinking tea, listening to the storyteller, and looking like the smartest guy in the room. Dude, I once overheard him talking to someone about tea. I was like, man, if he ever got talking to my dad, that conversation would go on all night. Oh yeah, the journalist. I know who you mean. All the Fontanians in Yulong Wharf read the Steambird, and sometimes I take a peek-ski too. Seems like the best articles have her name on them. Oh, wait, and you were on the front page once. That was you, right?
It's interesting how he knows Charlotte.
I'm the best wushu dancer in the Secure Transport Agency, and the busiest guard in the wushu dancing community. How about that? That do anything for you? You can tell if someone's a pushover just by looking at their basic kung fu skills. Horse stance, kicks, splits, jumps, tumbling. If you can't hack even those, whew boy. Best case scenario, you might fall off a high pole during a wushu dance and be bedridden for a couple of weeks. Worst case scenario, you run into bandits on a delivery run and you can't fight them off. Definitely lose the cargo. Probably your life, too. Scary thought, huh? Yeah, I thought so, too. That's why I said it to the other guys in the agency to persuade them to train with me.
You know who he reminds me of?
Yep.
Spider-Man before he got to be Spider-Man.
Peter Parker.
Yeah, where he's kind of lost and he had something to do, but he was kind of willing to just go along with everything else. Whatever. Yeah. Cool.
They're delicate, you know? The wushu head and blanket, the drums, the cymbals, and I practice a lot, so they deteriorate pretty quickly. You gotta be diligent about maintaining that stuff, and it costs a lot of mora. Then there's the meals out with friends, gift shopping for birthdays and festivals, spotting my buddies a few mora when they're strapped for cash. It all adds up. And that's how I blow through pretty much my whole salary every month. My dad keeps hoping I'll come round to the idea of him teaching me how to do business one day. He doesn't seem to realize that the whole reason I left my hometown in the first place is because I've already figured out what's best for me. Firstly, I want to show him that my wushu dancing isn't just a phase. I'm gonna make a name for myself or die trying. Secondly, I'm done clashing with them all the time. I don't hate the guy, I mean, he's still my dad and everything, it's just... Every time he opens his mouth, it's a verbal assault. And I'd rather stay out of his line of fire.
Man, I relate so much to this.
This bruise here is a fresh one. Got it when practicing my kicks the other day. And this bump showed up after I took a knock during a somersault. That was last month, and it's almost healed now. This scar right here, though, that was a doozy and a half. I had a bad fall the first time I was practicing on the high pole. Cut myself up pretty bad. There was so much blood, I thought my wushu dancing career was over before it began. I've had some near misses since then, but thankfully nothing serious. I'm still up to it. Just gotta keep at it. When you go for the tea but stay for the dim sum, we call that yum cha. What you want to do is get some sweet dim sum and some savory dim sum, gotta make it a balanced meal, and order a mix of ready-made dim sum and made-to-order dim sum so that you can snack on dim sum while you're waiting on your other dim sum. And funnily enough, I never need lunch on a dim sum day. Let me know when you're free, I'll take you sometime. And don't be afraid to order a bit of everything. You can always pack up the leftovers and take them home.
It's like if I had a more for every time he said dim sum, I would have 10.
Yeah.
How much? Alright, fine. I'll bite the bullet on the service charge. But I'm not paying extra for a few wet wipes, okay? Matter of fact, I brought my own, so you can keep them. I was a little monster when I was a kid. I'd get into trouble, then refuse to apologize, and my exasperated mom would say, I wish I'd given birth to a chunk of chasiu instead of you.
Wow.
Now, every time I eat chasiu, it makes me think of her.
Oh.
Everyone says I have weird taste. Call me crazy, but all I want is for my fowl to taste like fowl, and my fish to taste like fish.
I mean, fair enough. Alright, that was Gaming. Alright, next, Shiori. Very pretty.
She is very pretty.
She's from Inazuma,
What is that?
Japan.
Oh, okay. What was that she just did? What was that? Did it come out of that thing right there?
Yeah, give it a second. Come on, Shiori. Okay, well, those are swords, but we kind of need to see our puppet.
Is it a puppet that comes out?
Yeah, it's a little puppet. But yeah, what do you think about her dress?
It's kind of simple. In comparison to everybody else's, it's kind of simple.
Ah, there it is.
So that's her little puppet.
Mm-hmm.
Where did it come from? I never can tell. Right, all of a sudden, it's just there. Oh, look at that! Oh,
It just pops out of nowhere.
Is she a magician too? Kinda.
Well, she has a vision.
Okay. Oh, okay. Different thing. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
I am Chiori, the owner of Chioria Boutique. Feel free to find me if you'd like to commission any tailor-made outfits. As for any other requests, it all depends on whether you have enough to offer in exchange. Just the rules of the business. You scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. Also, smoking, drinking, and causing a ruckus are all strictly prohibited within the boutique. That whole the customer is king concept doesn't fly here. And even when royalty does come into the shop, if they don't adhere to the rules, they'll find themselves being tossed out and kissing the pavement just like anyone else.
She likes her business.
Mm-hmm.
Many have expressed displeasure, both publicly and privately, about my personality, and have complained that my words can be hurtful. But if you ask me, all those showy pleasantries, greetings, and compliments are far more of a waste of everyone's time. If simply stating the facts seems hurtful, then perhaps they are too insecure.
It is so weird. Because they got her being such a tough woman, and she's got the softest eyes. She's got the prettiest, softest eyes of anyone I've ever seen. Huh, interesting.
I mean, those are red eyes, right?
Yeah, but look at the expression. She looks kind of sad, you know? She looks kind of soft. And then she comes out talking like that. Huh.
Yeah, quite blunt.
Yeah, quite blunt.
When I first started conceptualizing the idea of my brand, I reflected on many of my past experiences, and came up with a lot of phrases for the brand's slogan. It's difficult to pick only one phrase for the brand, especially when you realize that every word reflects on a deeply treasured part of yourself. But you can only choose that which best represents you. Never admit defeat. That's me. That's my brand. Take it from me. This one looks good on you. You've never seen a style like this before? Oh, that's because you've never met a designer with taste before. I know you probably already know this, but I always just say what's on my mind. Maybe you've already grown accustomed to it, but that's just how I express myself. And I'm not going to change. You should also always act like yourself around me. There's no need to hide anything. I promise, I'll never criticize you for who you are. Don't believe me? After all this time together, have you ever seen me not keep my word? Because I was born in Inazuma, the people of Fontaine have dubbed me the Thundering Seamstress. If that's what they want to call me, then that's what they can call me. I have no lingering affection for my homeland. After all, everything, including my vision, only came to me after I decided to leave Inazuma. Oh, but that's not to say that I actively dislike those islands where fabric never fully dries. It's just that I haven't found any reason to go back.
I take it it's always wet there.
Well, there was one island that was constantly raining until you had to do a side quest.
Oh, okay.
When I was a kid, my parents would send me to a variety of activities to help expend my energy. One such activity was learning the art of the sword. But after some time, I suddenly felt that a dual-wielding technique was really strong and impressive. It wasn't long before the instructor approached me and told me to stop practicing using that technique. When I asked him why, all he said was that it wasn't the standard sword technique and that it was improper. After that, I never attended his class again. Now that I think about it, it's fortunate that I insisted on following the way I preferred. Perhaps I'm just the sort who needs to keep both my hands busy.
And do things my way.
Mm-hmm.
Tamoto is my first masterpiece. At the time, I was just thinking to stitch together a puppet girl who looked like me to be my model and assistant. Huh? What about a companion? No, I have no need for that. She used to beg me to help her design all kinds of strange things. For example, little crowns for every handle on a ship's helm. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at her request, and tell her that the most I would do is design her hat like a boat. Those who say I'm ahead of my time have clearly never spoken to her. I can't make a hat that could hide secrets, but it seems Lenny can enchant his hat to do just that. I'm a little curious about how it feels to wear a hat full of so many tricks and secrets like his. As for me, I don't need the burden of all that. It's easiest to just say what's on my mind. The magician's assistant sure doesn't say much, but I know she trusts me. You know, I sure get a lot of love from cats. One time, Charlotte came into the shop hoping to do an interview with me. I told her there was no point, because there was nothing new to talk about. But, just as she was leaving, a drunkard came stumbling into the shop and started causing trouble. She recorded the whole thing. What a fiasco. I've heard of journalists chasing leads, but now it seems news chases the journalists.
Yeah.
Oh, working with Shovers and talking with her are a cinch. So easy, in fact, that whenever I say goodbye to her and return to tending my customers again, it takes me a moment to shift gears mentally. Yes. Some of my friends and partners have mentioned him to me before. I admire his skills at management and diplomacy, but I certainly have no intention of changing my way of doing things. I don't think my temper is as bad as people make it out to be. I just don't like wasting my time on trivial matters, that's all. But for some reason, it's always those trivial things that come back to haunt me. So over time, I've ended up with a bad reputation. I would say that's completely unjust. Ever since I was a kid, I've always had a problem with authority.
I can believe it.
There was a period when I hated the rules and would always insist on going against the grain. Thanks to this headstrong character of mine, I've had to go through a lot of suffering. But eventually, I came to understand that rules aren't completely a bad thing. What I really can't stand is the feeling that I can't make decisions based on what I truly think. When I was little, I used to always look forward to the summer festival in my hometown. Every year, people would take out the most vibrant and beautiful clothes and carefully put them on before joining the crowd. Every time the festival came around, there'd be all these brightly colored spheres hanging from people's belts, goldfish that you couldn't scoop up from the bowl no matter how hard you tried, Apple candy so sweet that even the children couldn't finish them all. And fireworks. So beautiful that they could have only come from the Naganohara house. I always had a lot of fun at such festivals. But even then, I would always feel like something was missing when I went home at the end of the night. It was only after I got much older that I realized I must have wanted to become more than just a spectator at such a wonderful event. It's just like how people will always associate the House of Naganohara with fireworks. I hope that one day, people will also associate festivals with Chiyoya clothes. Just thinking about the prospect of that gets me really fired up. Alright, time to go back to the shop and churn out a few more designs. Although I can get quite immersed in my work, I also enjoy living in the moment. When I have some free time, I would often pack some food and find a lovely place in nature to take a cozy midday nap, before returning home, relaxing some more, and then finally falling asleep to my favorite music. Oh, and other times, I like to go out for food with my friends, talk about everything that's happening in the world, and party until everyone's completely hammered. Honestly, it all just depends on what I feel like doing in the moment. Just as fashion only exists in the moment, I also love living in the moment. So, what do you think? Want to go out with me tonight and enjoy a whole night of fun? I love Inazuma's petite desserts, as well as all culinary dishes subtle and light. Similarly, I also like the feel of my homeland's fabrics, as well as the practice of taking a bath after a long working day. But on the flip side, I also adore the soft waves of Fontaine's seas, as well as the beautiful scenery underneath the waters. Sometimes, I wonder if everything is in fact predestined, and if I'm still living in the shadow of my past. But then, another question always follows. Would the answer to that really change anything? In any case, I'm still me, living in my present. Even if I'm only the way I am due to what has happened in my past, my future is still in my own hands, and no one in this world can really change that.
Yeah, she likes living her life by her own rules.
Mm-hmm. I'm pursuing my dream through my work, and exploring the meaning of freedom through my art. What's the point of spending years and years of your life over something that's not near and dear to your heart? Sometimes, I worry that I haven't made as much progress as I'd hoped, and thus, it'd be hard to know when I would actually realize my dream of making Chiyoya renowned throughout the world. Still, that's no reason to question or abandon the dream. Rather than worrying or doubting myself, my time would be better spent creating a few more designs. I can never forget the Inazuman desserts I used to indulge in as a child, but rather than the joy of tasting them, I've always been more interested in the process of making them. Had I been less drawn to the fascinating world of fabrics and color, the world would have gained another dessert chef. I can't handle food with particularly strong flavors, like haggis, for example. The experience of eating it is kind of like suddenly getting hit with a face full of Geospectre out of nowhere. Does that make sense to you?
A Geospectre is like a floating rock monster.
Ouch.
Yeah, not pleasant. And that was Chiori. Alright. Yeah, group 4. Arlecchino.
It's a he. With very feminine style. Is this a he?
A female. But she does refer to her as, hold on.
I am the knave, Arlecchino, fourth of the Fatui Harbingers. The children of the House of the Hearth call me Father.
Yeah, Father.
I do hope our partnership proves to be a pleasant one. Although, I would imagine that should be fairly easy. After all, there's no cause for contention between us at the moment. Wouldn't you agree?
So there's a good reason why she referred to her as Father and not Mother.
Why?
Because her mother figure was very... What's the word?
I don't know.
I guess cruel would be the word.
Huh. Is that why she looks like she's out for a fight half the time?
Yes.
Huh, okay.
Seeing yourself clearly is a difficult task indeed. Perhaps even a thankless one. After all, they say those who lack adequate powers of self-perception often lead a happier existence. On occasion, I hear others whisper in secret, calling me cold and cruel. People are free to believe as they wish. And I don't intend to clear up their misconceptions. Prejudice has a way of concealing the truth, and that is hardly to my disadvantage. Still, I believe the time has come for certain measures to be taken to live up to their expectations. Let's just hope those on the receiving end of these measures have enough power and status to escape with their lives.
She's a bit scary.
Mm-hmm. Very scary, especially with those red X eyes.
Yeah.
Our ideals are not entirely aligned. If we are to work together, we must be willing to compromise. To that end, I'm willing to share certain secrets with you. Information that I choose not to reveal, however, is best left unexplored. For your own good, of course. The children simply adore your stories. They often ask me when you're coming around again. I do hope you won't let them down. Betraying their expectations comes with a price. Perhaps that's something worth your consideration.
She's really scary.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, there wasn't anything I desired, until the idea came to me to assassinate Crucibina.
Oh my gosh.
It was a ludicrous thought then. She was a harbinger, famed and experienced, and nearly everything I knew about fighting was taught by her hand. However, it appears you need only desire something with sufficient intensity and the gods will answer. In the end, I gained a vision, and after making certain sacrifices, I mastered this power. Surpassing one's teacher often requires the pursuit of the unexpected.
Did she actually assassinate her?
Yep.
Oh my god.
There was even an anime short.
I can believe it.
Mm-hmm. Just
Wow.
completely destroying her with pure crimson fire
From her eyes?
from her vision.
Okay. Oh, close enough.
But sure, I guess you could say eyes.
Flames course through my body like blood. This may be nothing but a figure of speech to some, but for me, it's the harsh reality of my existence. The aurora in Snezhnaya is quite beautiful. Certainly worth a visit. I once had a pet spider named Bambi. Raising spiders is quite fascinating. They cannot be domesticated like cats or dogs. Any affection bestowed upon them will not be returned, and they require little investment in terms of care. It's the kind of relationship that suits me perfectly.
She's mean.
Mm-hmm.
Clairvy once asked me what a real home looks like, but I had no answer for her. How could any of us know the answer when the House of the Hearth is made up entirely of people who never had a place to call home? By killing Crucibina, I was able to assume the identity of father and rebuild the house under a new set of rules. Still, I'm well aware that even with these efforts, the house is far from that ideal. As for what a real home truly looks like, I suppose that question is best put to the side for now. Perhaps one day, Lynnie will be able to give me a new answer. Lynette's uniquely calm personality is also her strength, and I believe she is more than clever enough to recognize that. She's an irreplaceable part of that little team of 3, and I would imagine that role brings her much joy. As her father, my duty is merely to give her the space to put those talents to good use. Fremine has a complex mind and often hides his emotions. He blames himself for things that aren't his doing and allows them to eat away at his conscience. I would imagine the other children might find it difficult to understand his manner of thinking. But You seem to share a similar delicate sensibility. Perhaps you two would make good friends. Monsieur Nervalette intentionally maintains a certain distance in professional and private settings. Many say this makes him cold and unfeeling, but I believe the truth is just the opposite. In order for all beings to be treated equally under the law, a certain level of emotional distance is expected. Maintaining that kind of indifference is in itself a demonstration of kindness.
Interesting.
Sheesh.
I asked Linny to deliver an assortment of cakes for her theater troupe to enjoy during tea time. The children made the cakes themselves, as a gesture to express the support and enthusiasm of her audience. I do hope she enjoys them.
Yeah, what does she think about her god?
When I was imprisoned, it was the Tsaritsa who pardoned me and gave me the title of Harbinger. I could sense she was a person of true sincerity and compassion, unlike all those pompous hypocrites with their posturing and rhetoric. Yet, it's difficult to say whether her compassion alone is enough to melt the ice and snow that permeates her land. All I can say is this. If we are forced to be at odds one day, I will raise my weapon against her without hesitation. Because that is the greatest level of respect I am able to bestow.
Interesting.
Yeah. She's a worthy opponent.
Okay, and these are talking about the other Harbingers.
Yeah.
You wish to know more about me? Why, of course. Our relationship is one of mutual trust. There's little need to keep things hidden. I would only inquire as to whether you're truly prepared for what you might learn. Secrets can be sharper than a knife. Innocent curiosity can lead to dangerous places. The moment you wield a blade, you realize that different lives carry different weights. Some people have an air of renown and distinction, yet grovel and plead for their lives when faced with death. Their outward demeanor nothing more than a hollow facade. Others appear unremarkable, yet carry a heavy burden within. Despite the factors that differentiate us in life, death awaits us all. The great and final equalizer. Cruel, you say? I merely state the truth.
She definitely has a wide vocabulary.
She does.
My Snezheviches and Snezhevnas. Those with the courage to walk through shadow, even when the world gets dark. And the conviction to embrace the heat, even at the risk of getting burned. I will do my utmost to teach them how to navigate life. The House of the Hearth begs favors from no one. Like a spider, we hunt for what we want.
Well, technically, spiders aren't hunters, they're more trappers. Right?
Well, there's some that they get things live and they eat them.
Right.
No one has the power to choose where they come from, but we all have the right to fight for the life we want. In this sense, the world is both unfair and just an equal measure. I don't take in children out of a desire for recompense. In fact, should they so wish, the children are free to leave and pursue a life outside my organization, so long as they're willing to pay the price.
Is there a backstory to that sentence? Does she have an organization? Does she deal with children?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, when you said children, like, biologically speaking?
No, I mean like children. Does she have a place for children?
Yeah, the House of the Hearth. An orphanage.
Oh, where Lynette and Lenny are.
Yeah.
Ah, I get there. Okay.
Again, we do need to give you some more context with all this stuff.
Bit, yeah. But that's okay. But so what she's saying is like if Lynette wanted to leave, she'd have a tough time leaving. She wouldn't be allowed to leave. Is that what she's saying?
I think so.
Ooh, she's a cold woman.
Fate can be a peculiar thing. When I was young, Mother favored me due to the unusual set of abilities I possess. No one was able to discern their true nature, not even me. We would only speculate that they were the result of some sort of hereditary curse. Whatever the origin of my power, all I knew was that it was the source of my strength, and often the impetus for my suffering. It was only after I became a harbinger that I finally learned the truth from the jester. He expressed surprise that the Crimson Moon bloodline had not gone extinct, and that, in a strange twist of fate, the House of the Hearth had ended up in the hands of an orphan of that lineage once again. I cannot say what the future holds. I trust fate will give me an answer in time, and when it does, I'm prepared to do things my way. Even if that means striking down fate with my own two hands.
I bet she could do it.
Mm-hmm.
In my free time, I enjoy observing insects in the forest. The dynamics between them are fascinating. The way they hunt for food, compete with each other, even cooperate. Those that seem formidable aren't always the ones that make it until the end, and a single error can prove fatal. I observe their struggle as they near death, and slowly commit the image of their suffering to memory, much like I do for those that fall by my own hand. The children often make use of words and phrases from popular vernacular that are only comprehensible among themselves, much like the code words we use during missions. Of course, children often need their own space, and I fully understand that. On occasion, we hold barbecue dinners at the house, and the children prepare the ingredients themselves. They enjoy participating in activities like that, and the feeling is mutual. After all, it's always possible certain familiar faces will be missing from the crowd the next time a similar event rolls around. I dislike complex seasonings. They dull one's sense of smell and taste. Allowing the ingredients to maintain their original flavor is also a way to respect their integrity.
Okay, so that was Arlecchino.
I liked her. She's just a little scary.
Mm-hmm. Right, so,
Or she's less scary.
Alright, so a few more characters.
Okay.
Cloren.
Does she have anything to do with music?
I don't really so, no.
Okay, alright.
Greetings. I am Clorand, a champion duelist of the court of Fontaine. If you wish to hire my services, please state the nature of your dispute. You may leave out any extraneous details. Those are no concern of mine.
So, a duelist.
Every newspaper is plagued by reporting that is neither particularly fair nor remotely just. Some writers allow their views to be swayed by personal connections and promises of Mora. If you want to find out the truth of a situation, the best way is to go to the people directly involved. Ask your own questions and come to your own conclusions. At the very least, don't let other people's deceitful tongues serve as a substitute for your own brain. My choice of weapons follows the Marechaussee hunter tradition. A musket to chase away my prey, and a sword to deliver it a fatal strike. In duels, of course, I typically only use my sword. Once you set foot in the duelist's ring, there is nowhere to run, and therefore no need to chase you away.
Okay.
Before every duel, I wipe my sword down with a cloth soaked in a special cleaning liquid. It's partly to keep it in good working order, but it also helps me to remain calm and rid my mind of any intrusive thoughts. You're a fellow sword wielder. Do you have any similar rituals? Many of my habits are customs I've adopted from the Marechaussee hunter tradition. They fought against monsters, while I fight against lawbreakers. But monsters are evil by nature. It is all they know. The same cannot be said for the corrupt of humanity, who have the ability and opportunity to do good, yet willingly choose the path of evil. And you? What is your reason for carrying a blade?
To find our sibling.
After I received my vision, the amount of people surrendering to me in duels went up substantially. Some duelists even think I use it as an intimidation tactic. I always thought my undefeated track record was enough of an intimidation tactic. Perhaps I should aim to win more dramatically in future duels. I've seen many people get into a dispute over the most trivial thing, take it as a grave affront to their personal dignity, and end up bringing the matter to court. As if that's not already ridiculous enough, they then opt for a duel. As a champion duelist, I have no qualms about settling matters of honor with a duel. Still, how can I put this? For the average citizen of Fontaine, I would have thought that questions like whether Marcotte really belongs in coffee are not so crucial to resolve that they warrant the drawing of swords. You've seen bloaty floaties before, yes? It's hard to predict where they will fly to and how fast, which makes them good for target practice. Or rather, they would be, if you didn't have to go out into the wild to find one. If only someone out there was willing to cultivate them domestically. Charlotte is one of the more tactful journalists out there. I don't have anything negative to say about her. Unlike some, she doesn't ambush me with her camera on my way to work, or follow me to the coffee shop to report on what I'm drinking today. And most commendably of all, she is well aware that I do not do interviews, and doesn't nag me about it continuously. In the past, I always stood behind her at tea parties, sword at the ready. But now, I get to sit at the table, and enjoy the tea and treats along with her. I'm now beginning to understand why she complains all the time about how hard it is to maintain her physique. Navia's been in a good mood lately. It seems like every other day she's asking me to join her at Tabletop Troupe for a new script. The story is always so different. Save for the few times when I've taken the role of Game Master, I often play in character and join her on the adventure. But I do try to avoid playing any characters from the court, so as not to make the atmosphere too serious. No one is in any doubt as to the Eudex's authority. He always delivers a fair verdict, and when necessary, I will reiterate the fairness of this verdict with my sword.
She's an enforcer.
Ah, yes, Captain Chevrus. That's a name I've heard before. She's been landed with lawsuits on several occasions after being accused of using excessive force when arresting culprits. She refuted the allegations just as forcefully during her testimony, leaving the plaintiff speechless. I think she's outstanding.
They have similar thoughts.
I have to applaud the great magician for the level of professionalism he displays in his craft. If I ever have the time, I would very much like to enjoy one of his shows as a regular audience member. One day, I received a parcel containing a miniature mechanical toy and a thank you card. The toy was exquisitely made. I must thank Mr. Fremine in person when I get the opportunity. The opportunity may be hard to come by, you say? Very well. Then I too shall write a thank you card. Please pass it on to him for me.
He really does kind of fade into the background, doesn't he?
I've bought clothes from her store before. They're good quality. But most of the time, I prefer to wear my work uniform. Partly because it serves to clearly communicate my identity, and partly because I like things that are familiar. Just like my sword, this uniform is familiar and functional. I have no desire to change it. Managing the fortress of Meripede is no mean feat. Wriothesley is undoubtedly a highly capable person if he can maintain relative stability in a place like that. I highly suspect that he keeps quiet about some of the methods he uses, but there's no way we can know. A champion duelist's job is not that complicated. In fact, you could say it's one of the simplest jobs there is. Defeat your opponent, as requested by the trial court. That's all there is to it. Perhaps that's why some people colloquially refer to me as an executioner.
It's kind of what she is if she wins all the time.
Yeah.
I always do what I can to ensure every duel is a fair fight. If my opponent has impaired vision, I cover my eyes. If their mobility is limited, I restrict my range of movement. Whatever happens, every duel I participate in must be fair. I've lost count of how many times I've had people surrender right before the duel begins. When someone lacks the courage even to draw their weapon, I'm inclined to think that whatever grievance and claims of reputational damage brought them to this point are just the skewed opinions of a self-serving individual. Long before they face me, they are the architects of their own defeat. I needn't make a move when someone is a prisoner of their own soul. Have you ever seen a guilty person on trial? In my experience, they always twist the truth in an effort to protest their innocence. Violence is explained away as virtue, and evil as good. But whatever their excuse, it always ends the same way. It was a momentary lapse of judgment, but anyone else in my position would have done the same thing, so don't single me out for punishment. They seek to hide their own foulness by smearing it on everyone else, too. Their lies must be demolished, and the court cleansed of their filth. And that is exactly why I became a champion duelist. I've seen many people seek compassion from the court. No disrespect to them, but they're looking in the wrong place. The court is a place of impartial justice, and justice must always remain indifferent, or it cannot prevail. Justice is too easily led astray once human emotion enters the mix. If impartial judgment were to give way to vindictive punishment, vindictiveness at the hand of the court would be every bit as cruel as the crimes perpetrated by lawbreakers. Unlike my work as a duelist, being a game master in tabletop troupe gives me the freedom to stay outside of the story itself, and observe people's reactions without getting personally involved in all the drama. I create and control the world in which they operate. Like watching a caged animal caught on a hunt. That's an interesting angle. I never thought of it like that before. But I would never give the players a hard time. I just want them to enjoy the story. So it's quite different from hunting. I do hope those journalists stop harassing me while I'm just trying to enjoy a cup of coffee, buy a bunch of flowers, or read a book. Otherwise, I may have to file a lawsuit to make an example of one or two of them. If they request a duel, I'll make them bring their camera. And in the interest of fairness, I too will bring only a camera.
In particular?
Probably.
Oh my gosh.
I like meaty dishes in general. But only if the meat is fresh. There's nothing like the flavor of freshly hunted meat cooked over the grill with a little salt to taste and a portion of sour fruits on the side. You should come hunting with me sometime. I'll cook for you. I don't enjoy fish. There's too many bones, and I can't stand the smell. Maybe it's because I had my fill of fish as a child.
Okay. Alright, next, Sethos.
He.
Yes, he.
Okay. I love his eyes.
Sorry, ma'am. Were you looking for me? Hello, hello. I'm Sethos. What can I do for you? Actually, you know what? This seems like more of a sit-down conversation. Come with me. I know a good place. Some of my elders say I'm difficult to control, like a wild animal. I actually don't disagree with that, but don't you think it's kind of an issue that they want to control how other people think in the first place?
Interesting.
To be honest, being a leader is a little stressful, especially in the Temple of Silence. But after all the years I spent with Grandfather, I'm at least clear in my own mind about the areas where I cannot compromise. After the rite of duels, and having been given the chance to make so many new friends, I now know the direction I want to take the Temple of Silence in from here on out. Don't worry, I won't mess it up.
Again, you're missing quite a bit of a context of this one.
But he's actually the leader of this temple?
Yes.
He's very young.
When you approach someone while intending to ingratiate yourself with them, it often makes for a stilted conversation. It's much easier to build up a rapport by just hanging out and talking about whatever. Lighting a bonfire at night keeps you warm and keeps wild animals away. To me, you're just like a bonfire. Too abstract? Alright, let me put it more directly. I think of you as a good friend.
Yeah, I do wonder if people try and use that as some kind of pickup line or something.
Yeah.
Like, girl, you are my bonfire. I don't know.
When desert people receive a vision, everyone will claim it's a blessing from such and such a god, depending on their faith. Watching them get into an argument over someone else's vision about who's stronger out of Lord Hermanubis and Lord Sobek is a guilty pleasure of mine. If you're ever traveling in the desert, journeying by night is a good choice. It does get very cold, but you don't get as dehydrated as you would under the harsh sun. Putting on a few extra layers is way easier than spending half your journey time looking for a water source.
So he's from the desert?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I don't know where morning flowers got their name. It's quite an evocative image, though. Maybe somebody saw one wilting in the sunlight and thought it looked like a person hanging their head in sorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just talk about other characters from last year.
You got questions? You've come to the right person. On the off chance I don't have the answers, I can ask around and help you find out. If you have any equipment or tools that need repairing, I can help you with that. What's my job? Well, I'm an unemployed vagrant, obviously. I wouldn't have the time to be such a handyman otherwise, would I?
But he's still the leader.
Mm-hmm.
I like going on hiking trips. I always map out my route, pack a bag, and pick a good day. I enjoy having it all carefully planned out. Of course, you gotta leave some flexibility in your schedule, too. You might make a new friend along the way. I always have a great time at the Grand Bazaar. I like to pick a bunch of different herbs and spices to mix with some freshly grilled meat. I never make a note of the exact combination of ingredients, though, so I usually end up with one-off recipes. What do you think? Any interest in trying one of my limited edition, one-time only delicacies?
It could be really good or really bad.
I've lived in the Temple of Silence for as long as I can remember. And to be honest, I've never had many of my own decisions to make. I'm still not sure if withstanding the power of Hermanubis was a blessing or a curse, but it definitely gave me a higher purpose in life. There's a million things you can regret in life, so I'm just happy I was able to bring that one situation to a close. I'm sure Grandfather will rest in peace, knowing that I got to become the leader of the Temple of Silence, and that Hermanubis' power has finally found a home.
Well, good for you.
I get bored when I'm inside for too long. I always like exploring the great outdoors, whatever the weather might be like. You have to be fully prepared before you venture out on a trip, especially when you're going somewhere you haven't been before. The first time I spent the night in the rainforest, I didn't realize that I should have brought a waterproof ground sheet. That was a miserable night. I like mixing spices, but only because it makes meat taste better. It's a means to an end. Green vegetables are nice to look at and all, but eating them?
Okay. So that's it, those. Okay. Almost done.
Cool.
Siege win!
We finally have a little girl.
Uh-huh. And
Why do we have a little girl? Huh? You're gonna have to tell me, because I don't know out of all of this what you're...
her gun.
What is it?
It's a bubble gun.
Oh, goodness.
Okay.
What's wrong? Don't be nervous. I'm Nurse Siegween from the Fortress of Mirapede. Let me take a look at you. Any pain here? Oh, what about here? Oh, you're not here for a checkup? Well, that's great news. Phew. You're so adorable. Make sure you take good care of yourself, okay? We don't want anything happening to you.
So she's a nurse.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
A nurse at the prison.
I love human hands.
They're really handy for handling things. Oh, they make cutting bandages and picking up needles so much easier. And they fit my tranquilizer gun like a glove.
So, fun fact, she's not really human.
Her hands look good.
But you could tell those
Yeah, whatever that is.
yeah, the ears coming out of her head.
Yeah.
Maritime Flower is the pen name I use for writing in Beautés en Fleur. It was actually chosen by a vote. My Melusine friends and I put our heads together and came up with 3 options. Then we put them on the bulletin board and got everyone to vote on them. So, that was proof that by human standards, Maritime Flower fits better with a beauty and skincare theme than, Stern-Shield Crab or Bubbler Seahorse.
Makes sense.
Hi! Oh, you're getting deja vu. I guess you've met some other Melusines before, huh? Well, that's right. You lean a little bit forwards, quickly wave your hand, and then greet the other person in a friendly tone. Hello, hello! I remember that you once hid a potion and didn't drink it because it was too bitter. Later, I gave you a box of candies that had some pills mixed in, and a recipe change so they wouldn't taste too strong. Oh, they were still bitter? You could tell right away, huh? Well, you still took them, so thank you for trusting me. I'll keep looking out for your health in the future. Just keep being a good patient and take your medicine when you're told to.
So does she stay sweet and innocent all the way through this, or does she have a hidden part to her?
I guess you could say she does have that little part of her where she gets a little, yeah.
Okay.
Is it that? It's
Because
just
this is the first really sweet, innocent little one we've come across so far.
Having a vision helps me remove obstacles getting in the way of my work, which frees up valuable time to look after my patients. Oh, what kind of obstacles? Well, in my experience, sometimes I get nasty characters trying to stop me from treating someone, and other times it's the patients themselves. Some people can be really uncooperative, but those are extreme cases. Most of the time, I prefer using my vision to make lots of floaty, colorful bubbles. They always cheer me up, and they liven up the atmosphere. I have loads of great photos of me and my Melusine friends surrounded by bubbles. Humans become very vulnerable when they get sick. I've seen lots of huge guys who boast about their skills in the pancreation ring suddenly look at me like a frightened blubber beast when they find out they need an injection.
I understand that.
Well, I always make sure to bring plenty of candies and stickers to make them feel better when the waterworks start. It's really effective. A little treat always wipes the doom and gloom away. Do you like going swimming? Oh, it's really nice around the Fortress of Meripede. So dark and murky. I bet you'd love it too. Oh, wait. Your eyebrow muscles are contracting, which means you're feeling uncomfortable. Okay, got it. Let's go diving at the Salacia Plain instead. It's been so long since I saw the leisurely otters playing. I could watch them all day. Oh, but please make sure you don't harm them, and don't steal their shells. Monsieur Nervillette was the one who brought the Melusines to the Court of Fontaine and found jobs for us to do. Together we integrated into Fontaine society and learned about the wonders of humanity. I have huge respect for him, and I really like humans too. Who would I save first if Monsieur Nervillette and a human fell into the water? Well, that's easy. He'd definitely help me bring the humans safely to shore.
No, he wouldn't.
We Melusines are Monsieur Nervillette's familiars, but that doesn't mean he shows us any favor beyond what is fair and legal. I willingly accepted when he put me on trial, and I fully agreed with his verdict. I remember the day I left for the Fortress of Meripede. It was raining really hard, but I didn't feel like the raindrops were cold at all. They were warm and gentle, just like the way Monsieur Nervulette looks at me.
Oh, so he's got his favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
The Duke has the highest pain tolerance of anyone I've ever met. He wasn't always big and strong like he is now, but even in the beginning, he'd always refuse an anesthetic injection when he came to the infirmary to get stitches. He'd say something about wanting to keep a sharp mind, or something. I thought to myself, wow, what an impressive little grown-up he is. He's gone on to become an equally impressive big grown-up, too. Miss Cloran doesn't make a lot of facial expressions when she talks. It's pretty difficult to tell what mood she's in from what her face is doing. She used the lipstick I gave her? Really? I'm so glad she likes it. I knew that color would go great on her. The Fontaine Beauty Association holds regular meetings, and I really appreciate getting the chance to chat with everyone there. Most people, when I compliment them, just blush, lower their head, and try to brush it off. But Navi is different. She's always very happy to receive praise, and then she comes to shake my hand and take a photo with me as a souvenir. She's like a shining yellow rose who lights up the world around her. And whether it's daytime or nighttime, sunny or gloomy, she always looks dazzling. I love looking at Charlotte's photos. You get to see what everyone's facial muscles do in all sorts of different situations. Tensed up, relaxed, stretching up, drooping down. I remember them all very fondly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I still feel sorry for firing that tranquilizer shot at Mr. Linney. It was an emergency situation, and that was the least harmful way of incapacitating him. Thankfully, he was okay with letting me take care of Mr. Fremine once he understood that I bore them no ill will.
Yeah, again, bit of context that you're missing out.
Yeah, I know.
Lynette is cute 2 times over, human being cute, and kitty cute. After observing her a little bit, I noticed that her ears lean forward when she's having tea or cake. Oh, I just want to stroke her on the head. Oh, you too? Why don't we ask her for permission next time?
I don't think she'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
He made a point of coming to thank me after he recovered. What a lovely boy. Oh, he speaks so quietly, though. He probably doesn't go out of his way to talk to other people much. But I could tell that he has a rich and detailed inner world. Because he looked so captivated as he was looking through some Melusine's paintings. Melusines have different bodies than human beings, so it's hard to find clothes that fit. Even for me, I never know what to do with my tail when I'm trying on human clothes. But luckily, Chiori offers a Melusine tailoring service, so now all my Melusine friends have the chance to wear the pretty clothes they love. In my infirmary, I don't see criminals who deserve to suffer. I see patients who deserve a sickbed. Because whoever you are, you have to get healthy so you can serve your sentence and pay for your crimes, right?
That's funny.
A lot of illnesses are things that build up over a long time. That's why it's so important to take good care of yourself day to day. Sadly, not a lot of people seem to understand that. Why do they force themselves to keep working in the production zone when it's obvious that they're so tired they can barely keep their eyes open? I always sneak them some extra food. But beyond a point, if they aren't gonna do what's good for them and get some proper rest, they leave me with no choice. I have to resort to more, extreme therapeutic measures, like my tranquilizer gun. Oh, there's more to life than credit coupons. People need to learn to go easier on themselves. When work's not so busy, I invite Otnet and Mont to the infirmary for tea. Sometimes we talk about recent criminal cases. Other times, we discuss the latest skincare products recommended in the magazines. But most of the time, we do painting together. We paint things that we find cute, turn them into stickers, and then give the stickers to people that we also think are cute. Oh, wait a moment. I have one here for you.
Sweet.
Once upon a time in Fontaine, humans and Melusines didn't get along like they do today. Some people feared and hated us because they heard that we were born from the body of Elinas. Others didn't trust Monsieur Neuvillette. By extension, they didn't trust us Melusines either. And maybe some of them were just subconsciously wary of us because we looked different. Back then, it was really difficult to make human friends. So I really treasured that one little girl who knew I was a Melusine, but was still willing to hold my little round hand.
Aww.
My teacher's golden rule was, a doctor's duty is to treat whatever ailments they can. Well, doctors aren't gods, I know that. Even the best doctors will come up against incurable diseases in their time. But that's okay. We Melusines have very long lives, so as long as I never stop studying medicine, the range of illnesses I can cure can only keep increasing, and the amount of suffering can only keep decreasing. I'll always follow my teacher's example, doing everything in my power to save the people I can reach. As long as it will help, and as long as I'm not harming anyone in the process, I'm willing to use any means necessary to treat my patients, whatever the risk to myself. Out of all the books I've ever read, The Meaning of Laughter is my favorite. Not only is it a fun read, it also helps me when I diagnose patients. Like when someone comes out of the pancreation ring and they're laughing with their mouth, but the rest of their facial muscles are all contorted. It means that they're doing it to cover up the pain from taking a beating. If you ever meet someone doing that, you should subtly hint for them to come to me and get patched up. But remember, the subtlety is important. Otherwise, it takes away the meaning of their laughter.
She's nice.
How strange. My storage room is running out of space. Soon, I won't be able to fit any more mechanical parts in there. I thought I was pretty good at storing things. Yeah. Looks like I need to talk to the Duke sometime about expanding the capacity. There are so many good ingredients, all with their own nutritional benefits. And I found a great way to combine them all into one meal. Want to try my special edition nutritious shake?
Probably not the Duke.
No.
Tea is great, but if you drink too much, it does your health more harm than good. Oh, I've lost count of how many times I've told the Duke that.
Okay. Yeah, one more character. Emily.
Is she a bookworm? Does she read books?
I mean, she studies perfumes and botany and that kind of stuff.
It's just this very rare for them to have a character where they start out with their glasses on.
Okay. Now, hold on. Yeah. Yeah, like I wanted to at least get her to Friendship 6 before doing this, but you know, version 5 is coming out soon, so yeah.
So is she for another time? What are you saying? What are you saying here?
I mean, I'll let you know when the other two files are coming.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Emily. Is your inquiry perfume related by any chance? If your inquiry is of a different nature, I suggest we find a quieter place to talk. I must admit, I'm not very good at coming up with topics to talk about. Simply put, I'm not the best conversationalist. But if there's anything you want to share, good or bad, I'm always willing to listen.
Relatable.
When the authorities finish investigating a homicide or a fatal accident, there's still a lot of cleanup work to be done at the scene. This includes disposing of organic matter, removing bloodstains, sanitizing the area, all of which are the responsibility of a forensic cleaner. interestingly enough, I'm not actually affiliated with any organization in the court of Fontaine. I'm an independent contractor. I do have a long-standing work agreement with the guards, but I also accept private commissions. That's pretty much all there is to say about my line of work. But if you have any questions, by all means, ask away.
Huh.
Yeah, she cleans up after the blood and that kind of stuff.
I would never put that outfit together with someone who was cleaning up blood.
What perfume do I usually wear? Sorry to disappoint, but I don't normally wear perfume while I'm working. It can get in the way of other scents when working, you see. But if you tell me a little bit about your current mood, I can certainly give you a few recommendations.
Okay.
I once tried to use my vision to create a plant species that could grow without any nourishment. Unfortunately, my attempts were entirely unsuccessful. It just goes to show, even with the power of a vision, there's still a limit to what is possible. You can't defy the laws of nature. The 5 senses aren't completely independent. The color red, for example, might evoke a feeling of warmth, and fragrances can induce specific sensations as well. This property is mainly exploited on the sales front, though. If a customer is feeling down, for example, they can be easily persuaded to choose a perfume with an herbal or sweet scent. May I ask you something? The flower you wear in your hair, I've never seen one like it before. If you saw fit to fashion it into a hair accessory, I imagine it means a great deal to you. The Intivat flower? Huh, that's certainly a grand-sounding name. I don't know how you came to possess it, but I'm sure it means you are very important to this world.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she ever mentioned it, but we met each other through work. Although most of our conversations aren't nearly as serious as our jobs would suggest. One time, she told me she read a novel about a perfumer who makes a scent using human tissue.
Ooh, nasty.
Fictional, of course, but in the story, it turns out to be astonishingly successful. The finest perfume ever made. Based on my own experience, I find it hard to believe the scent would turn out quite so wonderful in real life. Chevreuse wasn't too focused on the feasibility, though. She was too busy trying to unravel all the legal liabilities involved in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Where do you get all the human stuff?
Yeah. That, like, it's no different than cannibalism.
Yeah.
As a designer, Shiori has a keen eye for trends. Although we deal in completely different products, I still enjoy listening to her talk about the creative thought process behind her designs. Not to mention, she has a pretty good eye when it comes to perfume. Whenever I have her test out my new products, she always manages to pick the one that ends up selling the best. A truly energetic young lady. Being a journalist, I would imagine quite a few people see her as nothing but trouble, but that hasn't been my experience. Even after discovering the true nature of my work, she still chose to keep it to herself. This despite the fact that she had no reason to help me, and it probably wasn't in her professional interest to do so. So I have quite a high opinion of her. If she ever needed my help, I would certainly not refuse. I'm fairly certain everyone in Fontaine knows that name. She's a formidable champion duelist after all, although I find her quite easy to get along with. In my experience, the stronger a person is in combat, the more open they are in conversation. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Miss Sijuin met me when I was very young. Too young to remember. Oh, I probably haven't told you. My father works for the Marechaussee Phantom, so we often have Melazines over as guests. Apparently, the Melazines were often the ones looking after me as a baby. But Miss Sijuin has never treated me as her junior. She always speaks highly of my perfumes, so whenever I make a new sample, I usually set aside an extra for her.
Aww.
As a perfumer, if your sense of smell starts to become dull, there's actually quite an easy solution. Drinking fresh water. I'm not usually strict about the water I drink, but out of curiosity, I once attended a water tasting event organized by Monsieur Neuvillette. He had such an abstract yet distinctive understanding of the distinguishing features of different types of water. It almost reminded me of the way magazine articles talk about perfume. He took the time to understand my needs and recommended a few water sources to me with utmost sincerity. He was so considerate. Sometimes I'd choose to buy the varieties he recommended, even if just out of respect for him. You know Risley? Well, aren't you full of surprises? From what I know, the Duke tries to keep a very low profile. Most people don't even know he exists. Monsieur Neuvillette once tried to recommend my services to him, but apparently he thought that the Fortress of Meripede would have no occasion for them. I can't know what his reasons were for turning me down, as I've never met him in person. But if I was to speculate, I would say perhaps there are certain things he doesn't want washed away. Perhaps he prefers to leave them there, as a warning. People often romanticize perfume, assigning it all sorts of poetic qualities. But in reality, perfume making is much closer to a science. It can be boiled down to a simple chemistry experiment, really. It's up to the perfumer to bridge the gap between the product's artistic and scientific qualities, and doing that with any degree of success takes quite a bit of skill.
It does, because they really are just chemicals.
People can describe how a certain scent makes them feel, sure, but it's very difficult to recreate a scent just based off of a written description, even for me. So I do apologize, but I don't take custom orders. That said, if you find any of my other perfumes to be to your liking, it would of course be my honor to do business with you. A perfume must undergo a series of tests before its release, including a shelf life test. This can help answer several questions. How long does the product last? Is it prone to deterioration? Will it become toxic or even dissipate over time? Now that I think about it, wouldn't it be nice if there were a way of doing a shelf life test for interpersonal relationships?
And again, I don't have her at a high friendship, so I don't have 4 and 5.
I like to collect newspaper clippings. Whenever I come across an unbelievable story in the newspaper, I cut out a clipping and add it to my collection. I've filled up several thick binders that way. Flipping through them is almost like reading one of those short story series that Chevros is so fond of. All the dogs in the park are so sweet, but if you want to pet them, you have to indulge them with some playtime first. I suppose it's a good problem to have. Fresh shrimp sprinkled with sea salt, lightly poached, then dipped in melted butter. Simple and delicious. You should try it sometime. I don't eat a lot of red meat. Controversial, I know.
Okay. And yeah, that's pretty much all the characters for version 4.
That's excellent.
So even though we've only covered 17 characters, which is a lot less than what we did last time, it still took longer to get through.
How long was it?
Well, an hour. Well, this one was an hour and 37, while the other one was an hour. So, like, less than 3 hours.
Yeah, but we actually, I got a chance to really know him better, though.
Yeah, we definitely went a lot more in depth.
Yeah, I like this better. I like this a lot better.
Yeah, we just let them do all the talking instead of me yapping. And
I'm still telling you, though, Lenny to me just looks like a girl.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to be fair, he is wearing rather sussy outfit.
Yeah, that's one word for it.
Yeah. So yeah, any quick thoughts, real quick? Yeah, final verdict.
I like well, there were a couple like this one. How do you say her name?
Sinian?
Yeah, I still don't get her. I guess she's a queen in her own right. I don't get what she is.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah, after this we'll definitely give you some more context.
Okay. Yeah, but I love them all.
Yeah, cool.
Well, thank you. This was wonderful.
So yeah, so version 5 is coming out soon, but that's only like 5.0, pretty much the beginning of 5.
Okay.
It'll take a whole year for version 5 to be completely out.
Okay.
And then we'll have another set of characters to go through.
Good,
but
excellent.
But that'll be for next year.
Good deal.
And of course the year after that, we'll have Shinji, and the year after that, I don't know.
I don't know either. It's going to be fun.
Alright, so yeah, I guess we're gonna end it right there. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Later.
Bye.